Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wong Chat. And I'm trying to see are all my stuff working because my computer is being extremely slow. I am definitely due in time for a new computer. And maybe I have too many software open up on my computer. I have Adobe Bridge and also Calculator. And we all know how much Calculator I use on my computer. Uh, anyway, we are on episode. What are we on? Let's check. We are on episode 44. We're gonna get to 50 very soon, and I'm thinking about if I should bring back some friends for episode 50. But until then, tonight we do have chat from Hoku Props. He makes amazing cosplay prop. But he also do a lot of visual effects. He does a lot of stuff in the 3D space kind of stuff. I seen some of the stuff he do on stream as well too. Like I know he streams some of his 3D modeling and everything, and they look amazing. And I always want to get into 3D modeling, but I am definitely not that great, and got kind of lazy into that part. But maybe eventually I might incorporate that into my photos, especially my cosplay photos. But we'll see. But you know what? I'll bring him on and I'll let him describe himself a little bit more. Let's see. All right, what's up, chat?
How's it going, guys?
It's going great. Like, how's everything on your end? Like,
Everything's
what do you
been.
what do you do
Go
these
ahead,
days?
ask.
What do you do
What
these
do I
days?
do these days?
Yeah.
So right now, I'm actually working on a project for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm
Oh,
building a full suit of Arthas Lich King armor, and it's going to be 3D modeled and then 3D printed. And then at one point, I'll meet up with the kid that's getting it. We'll size it to him, and then kind of proceed from there. But that's really the project that's currently on the table. I just finished another one for. It's an NDA project for a company, but hopefully that one will come out soon.
that's the thing with
Other
what
than
we
that,
do.
though, surviving, right? I think
Yeah.
that's what we're all doing.
I actually just
But
got
yeah.
an email from some news company or some kind of article. I don't know, but they reach out to me because they know that I should cosplay, and they wanted to know like, oh, how's the cosplay community or industry being impacted since the pandemic. Especially there's no convention going on anymore, so they
Right.
kind of wanted to know what's going on. And I think a lot of cosplayers have turned to streaming.
I think a lot of people in general have turned to streaming, though.
Yeah.
It's not just something that I think people are doing to try and make sure that they're still staying relevant and visible, but it's also something that they're doing for themselves. It gives them an
Something to do.
opportunity to have communication, and
Yeah.
that's something that's really hard. But if you can find a webcam, because I know it's hard right now, I kind of suggest everybody get out and try it, because for some people it really does kind of provide a benefit to them.
I think it works really well with gamers and cosplayer because most of them are introverts.
Oh,
And
sure.
yeah, and actually streaming is a very introverted activity, ironically and surprisingly, because I'm an extrovert. I like seeing people. I like human interaction, and streaming is
Sure.
so difficult for me because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm talking into the void. Like streaming is a little bit better. Making YouTube video
Mhm.
is such a horrible situation for me, but I do make them. But it's just that it's like I'm talking to like the void and the blank, and I'm like, haha, I can make a joke, and there's no laughs. I'm like, all right, okay, tough crowd. So
Yeah. You know what, though? That makes sense, though. So I can imagine. I would say when I was younger, you know, I I've always been pretty kind of just comfortable. I
mhm.
wasn't against communication, and I wasn't introverted really, but I wasn't also very extroverted. But when people were close to me, my nickname growing up was Chatterbox. So growing up, I was actually like really overweight. So my nickname was Chatterbox because my name's Chad, right?
Mhm.
I was square like a box, and I talked a lot, so that's Chatterbox. So I feel like growing, up and being the age I am now, it's just been an evolution of who I was as a kid. But I totally understand what you mean when you say that, like, for people that are introverted, I feel like there is probably far more of that inner monologue where you're constantly kind of talking to yourself, and there's probably a much more developed kind of process of that internal monologue than let's say when you're extroverted, because when you're extroverted, you're always talking to other people, you know.
Mhm.
So I guess I could understand where you're coming from with that. I don't
I
know.
think
Maybe
it's
I'm
the
both,
ins
so it's
it's the
comfortable.
for an extrovert, I think it's the instant feedback, and you can go back and forth, kind of like a banter kind of
Oh,
situation.
sure.
That is what excites us. But as when
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
yeah, stream. So here's the thing too. Like, I do a lot of photo shoots and video shoots with streamer as well, and
right.
at first I thought, well, they used to be in front of a camera, they should be very comfortable, but they're still not.
That's true. That's
Like the
true. But
yeah.
it's also though, you know, I would say one of the big benefits of streaming though, if you're introverted, is the fact is it actually does help you develop some of those communication
Oh
skills that
yes.
you might not necessarily have had beforehand. And I think that, you know, once you start developing those skills and as an introvert, whether it's a cosplayer or a streamer or whatever it is, you know, so often I think those skills help open up opportunities for people in the future. You know,
Mhm.
and the thing about it is a lot of the people that are streaming on, they're incredibly smart and they're incredibly charismatic, and a lot of that is just a limitation because they don't know how to express that in a public environment. So I'm always really curious to see how people are after they've streamed several years and after they've really developed that confidence to be able to just talk. You know, it's definitely nice to see people be able to come out of their shell, you know.
Mhm.
So who
I
knows? Maybe COVID's going to end. All of us are going to be such shut-ins that the people that were extroverted are now going to be completely introverted, and the people that were introverted will just be like blossoming into beautiful butterflies, right? So
see.
we'll see how that goes.
I said this before, and I was saying comparing like, and it's not like I think it's normal, and I think it's acceptable, and it's supposed to be expected behavior because like. As an extrovert, I don't feel fine, being trapped inside. So that's fine because I mean
Sure.
I was an extrovert. So meaning this is a normal like if I feel completely fine, that would be something wrong. But since
Right.
I
Yeah. Is this a
don't,
proper like response mechanism?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm like, you know what? I had a good run. During my time of like this whole coronavirus and pandemic, or shelter in space in place. I
Right.
definitely do not have able to shine as bright, which is fine. I had my great time. So until
Sure.
then,
Sure.
again, the introverts or like ambivert, whatever they are, good. Yeah, take it while you still can. Enjoy
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you there, man. You know, I will say there's one other thing that immediately comes to mind, and it's actually it came to mind because I was thinking about a video you posted recently about setting up lighting. And one of the
Yes.
other major benefits I would say of streaming for people that are, you know, cave dwellers is the fact that they're being exposed to light. So
Mm.
so you know, it brings to mind like Sammy, my fiance, for example. You know, she loves the dark. She literally she's like she calls herself a cave dweller or a vampire, right? And so the moment you have to stream, of course, you know, like ideally you're gonna have at least some sort of light source. So at least it's getting them to turn on the lights and get accustomed to that. I don't know. But fun
I have
stuff, right?
so many lights here. Like you already see a bunch behind me already, but there's like four more lights in front of me, and on top
I
of my
do.
head, there's like also like more like bright lights to give me like a
Yeah.
rim light,
You'd
kind of hair
you'd get a
light.
kick. You'd get a kick. So I have it turned off right now, but um we've got diffusers over both windows. So in the morning, so I do a lot of streaming in the morning, right? But then
Mhm.
Sammy does streaming in the evening. So I've got diffusers that go over both windows, and that's good. But at one point, I was like, I want to be able to have more lighting in case we're doing something that needs more light. So we
Uh
got
huh.
some of that diffusion silk and actually just draped it over like the entire bar of the recessed lights,
Uh
and
huh.
it's really great because it's like this light cloud on our ceiling. I love it. So
See,
yeah,
that's the thing. Like people, a lot of people saying, "Oh, I can't stream because I don't have this equipment or that equipment, or like I don't have professional lighting or mic."
it's a
But
$25 sheet, guys.
right, like there's you can always start somewhere and slowly upgrade if you want to. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah.
excuse. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like what else? Like I know people use like wax paper. Wax paper is a great light diffuser if you've
Hmm.
literally just got like a little can light or something. So I don't know,
You know
man.
what's make a good bouquet? I haven't done it with life size human. Well, I feel like all humans life size, but I have done it with figurine before. Okay, I've done figurine
Sure.
before where I do a photo shoot with it and then make a fake bouquet background. But you don't need very much expensive lights. All you need is um, aluminum foil.
Oh, interesting.
but I have never tried to make it for like a human background. So what I did is that you actually find it online too, but you crumble up a aluminum foil and then put
Mhm.
it in the background and just shoot any kind of color lights on it. It will look like really pretty bokeh, those little
Is that just
bubble.
because it scatters the light so
Yep.
just randomly? Interesting.
Yeah, very
Yeah, that
random
makes
and how they
sense.
reflect it.
Do you
It
use
actually
the
looks very
reflective
cool.
side though, or do you use the matte side of the
Ooh,
aluminum
I
foil?
think I used
Because
the
that'll offer
reflective
you a
side.
completely different
Maybe a
kind
two
of,
different look. Huh.
different look, yeah.
That's my next
Sounds like you
project. I
gotta
want
try
to
it with your next
I
figure.
know. I want to make a video on like, no, let's try it with like a human life size one and do it
Sure,
at home.
sure. But
That's
that's another thing though with I feel like this interview is kind of going more towards just like random kind of communication or talking about streaming, but I like where it's going. I feel like people think that their camera is one of the most important things with streaming, and I actually disagree. I think
really
having a good
sound.
microphone is
Yeah.
so much more important because I can sit here and be grainy and pixelated and look like crap, and as long as you still hear what I'm saying, it's you can understand me, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
moment I just sound like I'm a screeching, wailing banshee or something with all this background noise, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how good this looks, I'm gonna you won't be able to know what I'm saying. So
I, I
that's the thing I always tell people is like start with a microphone. Get a
I
decent
think it's
microphone.
because like the streaming idea, the interaction is still very human interaction kind of style when it comes to streaming. People would
Sure.
sometimes want to comment, they want to talk, so it's more a talk kind of thing. So sound, of course, a big factors of it, and
Oh
because
yeah.
no matter how good your video is, unless you're doing really really high level, maybe even like sushi dragon or like some of the cooler kind of stream style, people don't really
Mhm.
have to be like, oh wow, that's a really nice camera, because
Right.
once you get to a certain quality, anything
Yeah.
above that would be like people can't tell the difference. Both because you're streaming, so that's limit how
Sure.
much information is being shared, but
Sure.
also is like what you're gonna do. You're just sitting there talking. You're not like doing special effect. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not like watching
I
a
mean,
movie.
so I know with my streams, I'm like you said, I'm working in ZBrush, I'm doing digital sculpting and whatnot. And so often, my camera is just this. I mean, here, I'll pull it up. I look like this, right? Where I'm just like this tiny little human in the corner. And so you can
Uh huh.
barely see what's going on, right? But also this is some of the armor I'm working on. But
Nice.
yeah, so it's like for me, what you get 90% of from my stream visually is what I'm working on, whether that's working on props and stuff in real life. Although I actually don't do a whole lot of this because I don't feel like workshop kind of like streams are nearly as
Except
enjoyable
for
for
me doing
the viewers.
editing. Yeah.
But like me working in ZBrush, people are just like, this is so relaxing. What is going on? It's also fun for me to do because I can just whip stuff out so easily. So it's definitely I think if I had to pick one stream that we do that's my favorite, it's when we're working in ZBrush. But like we do this thing called Monster Monday. And essentially the chat will sit there and just dictate all of the random features of some random monster and we just sculpt it live. And at the end of that, sometimes like we'll 3D print it and paint it and stuff like over a course of a couple streams. But those are the funnest ones because they're really engaging with the chat and
That's
with the
awesome.
audience. So yeah, it's fun. It's definitely
So
fun.
for my version is that I have done editing stream before. There's two types. One is that so relaxing kind. I did a bunch of them during April when April shower is happening because I love listening to the shower outside, the rain.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, while
I'm
playing
I'm
some.
with you there. I love rain.
Oh
It's
yeah, it's
it's
so
but
soothing.
that's probably the Hawaiian side of me. I'm so used to it when we're out in the islands where it
Oh yeah,
rains
it's
every day.
always rain randomly. Yeah, I remember when I
Every
was out
single
there
day.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll listen to some lo-fi, and then while people will, let's just like chime in or they come in, they don't even have to say anything. They will just maybe listen while they watch me edit,
Sure.
and they like it. So again,
Yeah.
it always sounds surprising too because they're like, "Oh my god, this is actually very calming," and they're surprised. I think they're used to gaming stream where everyone's like, "Oh, go 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 go, attack!" Like
Oh, yeah.
everything's going on. Yeah.
You know what though? That's actually one of the really interesting things that differentiates like the creative streams from the gamer streams. If you if you were to look at kind of the analytics of the viewership, their viewers they have high viewer count, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's so much fluctuation. You know what I mean? Where people are joining and they're like, oh, look at the frags, but then they get bored really quickly, so they go find another stream. If you
Mm.
were to look at the actual viewership base on like a fairly successful creative streamer or somebody who's doing something like IRL, oftentimes those streamers, their viewers are there for hours. They're there from, the retention
Mm,
rate on viewers is so, so high once they find somebody that meshes with them really well. And that's
mhm,
something that's not, I think, as common with game streams. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And so that's the other thing though, is I feel like the individuals that are in those creative streams, they're the ones that are more receptive to like the chill streams. You know what I mean?
And I
And
think
and
because
it's enjoyable because it's less pressure on you and I.
and the viewers also like to connect with the streamer a little bit more through those kind of
Oh,
stream.
sure.
Like a lot
Sure.
of viewers for gaming stream like the person maybe also because of the game. And I have heard from many streamers
Oh,
once
yeah.
they change to a different game, they drop viewership
They lose them. Oh,
completely.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's very very different. But yeah, so and also do stream sometimes where I would like let people send in photos and I'll edit their photos for them, show them how to do
So
it.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's easy
Yeah.
to do and fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super cool. I've done a couple of things like that where I'll just be in stream. Someone's like, "Hey, I'm having a problem with a 3D model." And I was like, "Just send it to me. Just hop on Discord, send it my way." So I'll open it up, and then it's like, okay, and there's like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo." I kind of like, I love to be able to help people solve their problems. But
Mhm.
what's so fun, whether it's on like a live panel, the thing about it. So I've done panels where I do the exact same thing. Like I've done Monster Monday live at
Mm.
conventions before. At like Holiday Matsuri, I did it. And it's super entertaining because the process is absolutely the same thing. The only difference is rather than my interface or my medium being, OBS or Twitch chat, it's just people asking questions in real life. You know what
Mm.
I mean? It's really, really, really fun. And so the thing about it is just being able to, once again, just being able to take the process that we can do on a medium like OBS. Think about it. In addition to that, though, that goes to show that practicing and doing stuff in Twitch really can correlate though with real life. When we're talking about like introverts and extroverts, these are skills that if you're developing them and you're developing like a process, think about like how Critical Role works and how successful that is and how
Oh,
people love seeing
yeah.
like live Critical Role now. You know what I mean? Being able to take a process or some sort of form of entertainment that exists in a digital realm, but translates into a visible, physical, viewable thing. It's really cool.
And I think with
So,
the pandemic, we're all trying to figure out how to do that. We're slowly
oh,
getting better
sure.
at it too. And I
Oh,
think like with
sure.
streaming, it's much more of a frontier, like a pioneer of figuring that out. We have all this
Oh, yeah.
company that have to force to do online now, and they're doing
Oh, yeah.
very very slowly to figure out
Oh,
what does
yeah.
that mean and how does
Yeah.
that work. Yeah.
My brother's a professor, and he hit me up right when all this started, and he's just like, "Hey, they want to do like online stuff and so he was kind of making proposals to them like, hey, maybe we can try as educators, those that are more tech savvy, is let's make some videos and let's see if we can use that as a medium to kind of instruct the kids. So a lot of people will have heard of like Blackboard or whatnot, which is a
Hmm.
commonly used like portal for schools. And so I was like, check out OBS, check out this, check out that, set up your scenes, get it set up so you've got organization, be able to really show what's going on based off of the class that you're in and the needs that are required for that. And that's what's
Hmm.
so unique though about like the streaming format. And he ended up making YouTube video. Dude, he did like, it was like 3 YouTube videos a day for his classes, and
Jeez.
he knocked him out. He learned Premiere, and I'm just like, man, maybe I can get him to edit some of my videos. But it was so interesting. I actually so we had, I have my whole streaming set up, but then Sammy used to have her whole streaming set up, and both of our setups were relatively nice. And so we ended up sending Sammy's stuff. I gave it to him to use, and so the quality on all this stuff is great. But I'm like, man, think about it. Like, we as streamers are so prepared for the
Hmm.
isolation if we take advantage of it. And I will say most of us, at least a lot of us, we definitely have the time to experiment and learn a lot of these new things. So it's definitely a good time for people to be learning new skills, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. Like always pushing myself to try new things and make new things. Like I'm attacking the YouTube space as well now. Still kind
Mhm.
of new to it, but not that great at it. But I'm working on it. But the good thing is that I don't have to edit my video. I have a company
Right.
service that I hire that edit all my videos for me, so I can focus on
Yeah.
doing what I do good.
So what do
That's
you do? Do you just record it and kind of give like cliff notes of what you want the video to kind of be about,
Oh, it's
and
great.
then
I mean,
they
yeah.
just you upload it, and then they just download? Like, how
So
big are your files that you're uploading? Are you
huge,
actually re-encoding it first? Oh no! So no wonder
huge. So
when
the
you're like, my
best.
internet's being dumb, it's because you're uploading raw files. What file format are you recording these videos in?
So it depends on what type of files, right? Sometimes I even record on my phone directly, but they're 4K, so they're huge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But you're
Okay.
not sending them like ProRes format
No,
files,
no, no,
right?
no, 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 no.
Okay,
I'm doing
cool.
still MOV.
At least
Yeah.
they have that saving
Yeah.
grace.
I don't know even if they can
You
handle
know,
ProRes. Huh.
right. Oh man, that's
No,
funny.
the new cameras, like all of those coming out are shooting in ProRes and
Yeah,
like everything, and it's just like,
I s-
man,
yeah.
a 5 minute video could be like, talking about like
We're
hundreds
talking
of gigabytes and
we're
terabytes.
talking. Oh man, like some of these, like if you're shooting ProRes at like 4K, dude, that's like a terabyte a minute.
Yep.
That's just
Hmm.
giant. Who needs that?
Do
I
you
don't
know
need that.
the slow mo guy?
Oh sure.
Gavin? Yeah.
Oh
They
yeah.
when they shoot slow mo, they literally have to put a hard drive because they can only record like 30 seconds of it. Anything more.
Actually, when they shoot, they're not recording to a hard drive. They're recording to
It's,
RAM.
yeah, it's temporary.
It's
Yep,
straight
exactly.
up.
Yep.
It's straight up RAM
Then they have to
because
decide if to go to the hard drive or not.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's all saved in a cache, like in
Hmm.
real time, and then it takes like an hour to download and transfer to a physical storage drive. It's
Hmm.
crazy how that stuff
Yep.
works.
Yeah, I try to skip
Yeah,
all the
it's
part, but
super
yeah,
cool though.
it's a lot. Yeah, it's cool how they
Oh
did
yeah.
it and how they're doing it. And
See,
man,
that's the
but no,
problem though with technology. Technology is just cool.
but that's the thing. Like with my video service, it's great. I literally just record whatever the F I want, and I just send it to her. My editor, and then they just process
Yeah,
it. It's a company service,
dude,
actually
that's
pretty
awesome.
good. It's like $500 a month, and they edit as much as I need. Literally,
I
it's not
mean,
like
as
per
long as
video
you're
thing.
recording videos and you're getting them up, then that's what matters. It's the
Yeah.
it's the 1 month where you just are like, I'm done. That is what's gonna hurt. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Hmm.
So, but that's cool, man.
I'm doing consistently right now, hopefully, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like it's good because I still have the artist guilt kind of thing. If I don't do something, I feel like I'm not doing something. So like I
Yeah.
always have to come up with new idea, new concept. Like tomorrow, I
Oh
think
yeah.
I'm shooting a Pokemon photo shoot, and I want like a behind the scene video about it.
Oh fun.
My friend got his girlfriend this giant Pokemon
Uh-huh.
plushie.
Oh sure. Yeah.
Mareep, I think, but it's like a life size. So if you're
I've
vertically,
got
like you
no
stand up.
idea. I'm like a red and blue with a little bit of gold Pokemon in there,
Oh
and
yeah.
then I stopped.
You
I
think
was
it's
like,
that bad for you?
I am
I
not doing
For
this.
me, I play Pokemon in Japanese, and I don't even speak Japanese because that was what available for me at that time. And I read like the first 4 Harry Potter in Chinese, only the last 3 in
Oh
like
my
in English.
goodness.
So you know how confusing that could be with all the names and everything. So like with Pokemon, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, the one that looks like a sheep. Okay, that's as far as I'll go. I don't know what it is, but other
Oh,
than like
dude, that's like
Pikachu and
that's like
whatever.
yeah, that's like Sammy. She's got like a region unlocked PSP or whatever from Japan, and she has this
Hmm.
game called Ikimen Sengoku. It's one of those otome games, but it's
Okay.
all in Japanese. There's no translations or anything. And so what she does is she'll hold her phone with Google Translate over it, and then like kind of read what it's saying. But like I'll be sitting there and she'll just like start giggling, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm dating my samurai boys and whatnot." And it's like really funny because I don't even know if she understands the full conversation that's taking place, but
Um,
it's enough. But that's just another example of how amazing
Technology
like
is.
Google Translate. Have you done like the live camera Google
Yes.
Translate
I
before?
did that when
It's
I was in
crazy.
Europe too, and then the people
Yeah.
there were surprised because I was reading the manual. We all went out to get food, and then they were surprised how I understand it. It's like, well, because of this, I'm using the phone and able
Yeah.
to
Although I
instant
will say,
translate.
sometimes like when you use it on like Chinese to English translation, it makes no sense. Like it's
Yeah.
English words, but what? What?
There's this thing in I watched a video about this. Like how hard is to learn a language? It depends on like how far separation. There's like 3 to 4 regions kind of separations.
Oh, sure.
Like if still
Sure.
like romanized kind of word like English, anything that use alphabet, that's one section. But like
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like Chinese, Japanese, Korean, they
Oh,
like
yeah.
complete difference. Like at least
Well,
Japanese and Korean still a little bit English. They use letter to alphabet.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
There's no alphabet in
Oh yeah.
Chinese. It's completely just characters.
So I studied Japanese in college, and I feel like I've retained some of it. I can sound like a kindergartner, right? But the thing that was so nice for it is because you've got, both hiragana and katakana. At least with like
Hmm.
katakana, you have the kind of translation a bit of different English words, like the
Hmm.
phonetically at least. And
Yeah.
so like some things actually are just American words, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I know what they're talking about, right? Like
So sound
like
it out.
McDonald's, right? Like McDonald's. So
Yeah.
it's stuff like that where you're like, oh, that's nice. But man, sometimes I have no idea what I'm, like, reading or talking about, and it only so I can only imagine it's even more difficult with Chinese because you have
Wait.
so
Yeah.
many characters.
So many and no
There's
alphabet.
holy moly, man.
Like you can't even sound it out. You cannot look at the word and say like, "Let me guess what it say." You can't. If either you know the word or you don't. It's one of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's all memorization. But it's great. It's like when I went to Japan with Mac Turney,
Mhm.
she's know Japanese and I know Chinese. So combined, we can read everything. But
Yeah, you guys are covered. That's
yeah,
good.
but it's funny because when I went there, they always like the server. They will all talk to me first. They'll be like,
Uh-huh,
because like I don't Asian, so they're always gonna speak to me first. And I'm
uh-huh.
like, I don't speak Japanese, and they'll talk. Then she'll speak, and they'll talk to her. But they always come back and talk to me first. And I'm like, no, not me. This girl, this white girl, she's the one that speaks Japanese, not me. So yeah,
You need yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, yeah. Um, have you seen this one Google ads that's from a long time ago and it's definitely sidetracked, but it's very cute and I applaud them for the marketing job. It's a short video. It's all on. Yeah, it's just like a screencast, like a screen recording of just Google.com, and you can tell the journey of this guy who met this girl, but they don't speak the same language. But then he keep using different translation tool in Google to try to figure
Uh-huh.
out how to date her, how to talk, and eventually can tell him buying a flight ticket and went out to meet her. It's like a 30-second
Yeah.
ad, but it was
I've
amazing.
not seen it. I've not seen it, but it
Yeah.
definitely sounds adorable.
I'll link it to you later. I'll find it. I'll link it to you.
Please,
But
please do,
yeah,
for sure. For sure.
I feel like we haven't even got a chance to talk more about us, and especially you.
I mean, I'm kind of an
This
open
is
book.
great.
Hi guys, I'm
I
Dad
love it.
Hoku. I'm a prop maker. I do 3D modeling for half of my living. Let's see, I do a lot of prototype. So like if somebody has some grand idea that they want kind of a physical representation of what that is, we get hired to do the engineering and prototyping of that. And let's see what else. I do a lot of work for game
How
companies doing props and all that. So
how
yeah.
did you get to this part of your life? Because before this, you were not making props, right?
This point referring into like what timeline? That was
Doing
kind of a
props
big
making.
question. Oh,
Like for
doing prop
example,
making.
because
So
like
it's like,
you
how
got
did I
injured
start?
from
It that was a
how did you get
pressure
in?
casting chamber. Well, I was doing props since about 2011,
Mm,
so I had started making props. I Let's actually back up. So I went to school for 3D modeling and animation. I wanted to work in video games. Growing up, my dad, he was a craftsman, really, the truest sense of the word. He was a carpenter, and then he was a contractor, and then he was a painting contractor, and then, so I grew up though being on job sites, learning about all of the different fabrication techniques that he used, including though he did tons and tons of like hot rods and tons of like muscle cars and stuff. And so
mm,
I learned specifically doing work with plastics and composites, Bondo, fiberglass, all of that kind of stuff, working with lacquer paints and then urethane paints, which were awesome. And then now it's so funny. I don't even use a lot of that. I use like water-based paints, right? But
mm,
so I learned the crafting skills really from a young age, and it's really a part of who I am. But I'm also a huge nerd, right? So it was like I loved video games. I loved, everything about it. So I was like, I want to go and I want to make video games for a living. So I went to a place called I went to community college, and my community college professor who was teaching us like Maya and stuff, he was like, you're pretty good at this stuff. You should consider going to a higher level of education for it. And so I found this place called Noman School of Visual Effects. And Noman's in Hollywood. It's an amazing school. Most of the professors there are literally active artists in the industry. And that's one of the things that I think is so beneficial about places like Gnomon is when you've got educators and you've got professors that worked in an industry, but they've essentially completely stepped out of that role. And now they're just teaching the theoretical. That knowledge is all predicated on the time when they worked in their industry, right? And you and
Mhm.
I both know that industries are always evolving. And so
Evolving
really
very
what they're
fast.
teaching, exactly, really what they're teaching is old news. It's
Mhm.
it's it's outdated. It's not really relevant anymore. And obviously there's a lot of the kind of just core essential
The
instruction that's
principle, but
required. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, the principle. But there's some really, really modern, relevant kind of information that's not being imparted on the students. And that's what I liked so much about Noman. It's like my professors were artists that literally like when I was going there, it was right when Avatar the movie had just come out, right? We're talking the blue ones, you know.
Yeah, okay,
We
it's
all
like
need to adjust this. Yeah, yeah, we're talking the blue ones. But suffice to say, visually, that movie is incredible. It's stunning, right?
Mhm.
Like 3 of the professors or 4 of the professors that were at Noman at the time literally were like lead artists on the movie. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm,
like they
mhm.
know exactly what's being utilized in real time. They're sitting there, we're in class and they're telling us about this brand new system that was developed. So when James Cameron was actually filming the screen, they were doing tons of motion capture, but he actually had a camera with a monitor that in real time did a primitive version of the entire world, including the
Crazy.
actors. The actors would be represented with their actual models of their Navi, right? And
That
it's
would
like
not
he's
be
able to
possible back
actually,
then.
right. That's the thing is like, think about it. Here's this director who's normally accustomed to working by, looking through a camera or seeing a monitor on a live action style film.
Mhm.
But because this whole thing is done in 3D, how do you really get a full realization or representation of what's going on with the visual effects at the end,
Mhm.
especially when it's a full CG movie like Avatar was, right?
Mhm.
And
A
so
whole
what he's
world.
able to do is just look through this monitor in real time. He's essentially just filming a real movie that's live action, you know what I mean? Or as close, I think, as could be possible at that time.
And he
And
was
so having
saying
professors, sorry, go ahead.
no, and he was saying he couldn't make that movie before it's because the technology wasn't there. Like, he has a
Yeah,
vision.
they developed that technology literally for that movie.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
that's the thing is having a professor that's sitting there and he's imparting this current, development with us, so we're understanding not just where the kind of industry is coming from, but also where it's going. I think that's preparing us far, far, far better to be ready to enter into the industry because we know what's gonna be expected of us. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things that's so, so difficult oftentimes with education nowadays is the fact that students are really just kind of thrown to the wolves. They don't actually know what they're getting into.
Mhm.
So often education is theoretical based, and it's like you've got let's talk about like a mechanical engineer, right?
Mhm.
So the mechanical engineers at the school that I went to and got my degree at UC Riverside, it's a theory-based education, right? And so they're teaching the theoretical to all these students, but it's not really until the very end when they're doing like their senior design projects that they actually get to use a mill. They actually get to use machining equipment and stuff. And so it's like, how are you supposed to be a designer if you don't actually know how to work with heavy machining equipment? And
Mhm.
and so it's great to have that theoretical knowledge, but there's definitely a tremendous amount of hands-on just experience that I think is not really being taught. So even more so, I'm curious how that's affecting our society because you still have kids that are going to school, right?
Mhm.
But they're not actually able to go to school now. So the
Yeah.
distance learning thing, I think, might actually make hands-on skills even more difficult to find in our students. So
What's
sorry, I
the
know that
word
was a
for it?
tangent. Yeah,
What's the word for it for, like, a school that is not traditional? It's like a skill kinda work.
a craft school. It's a craft
Craft skill?
school.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah. So
Yeah.
how they work now with, like, all the pandemic going on? Must be
I'm
tricky.
assuming they don't. I'm assuming they don't. Yeah, like all of the auto tech schools and whatnot, I don't even know
Mhm.
how they're functioning, so
And, I
but
mean,
then
even
again, I
with
mean, there's
maybe they'll
there's
finally
some
push
places
VR.
don't care.
Maybe VR,
That's
AR
an
is finally a
interesting thing,
thing.
though. That's definitely an interesting thing, though, but, they have used VR for certain industries and certain, schooling, like the medical industry.
Mhm.
Doctors have been using VR to kind of get just a simulation of what that process is like for a long time now. And I can imagine that the exact same skills and the exact same techniques could be used to impart at least a representation of what that hands-on experience is
But
gonna or process would be.
we never had the situation where we're forced that we have to use this because there's no any other way, you know?
Sure,
I'm
sure.
sure, like, in during back then, normal time, we could be like, "Oh, yeah, you know what? We that VR, whatever, just come in, we'll help teach you how to fix this car," you know, that kinda thing.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not gonna force you to have to do VR because there's no reason for it. So much faster too to go to the
yeah,
shop. We'll show you how to turn this knob.
yeah.
But now you have no other options. Maybe then they'll be like,
Right.
oh, maybe now is the time to actually push it. I don't know.
See,
We'll
I
see.
agree, I agree, I agree for in the past, it was definitely faster to do that, but I think we're gonna reach the point think about, like, what is it? The Oculus Quest.
Hmm.
I know it's not the best VR out there, but the actual capabilities that it has for being this mobile wireless
Wireless
unit
experience.
that
Hmm.
doesn't even require a computer. I think about the systems like that and how they're gonna develop over the next, 3 or 4 years,
Hmm.
and what's gonna be possible in that same form factor, if
Oh,
not even
definitely. It's gonna be
smaller, right?
smaller,
And then
faster,
it's not
lighter.
gonna be easier, Then it's gonna be far easier to sit on your couch and sit there and have this, simulation of what you're doing.
Hmm.
I've got a VR headset. I have the Valve Index, and it's one of the coolest functionalities of it is the fact that they call them the knuckles. The knuckles have finger tracking, right? So you
Mm.
actually, when you close each finger, you've got, individual motion tracking of these fingers. I don't know if it's a pressure sensor or what it's going on there, but it
Oh,
works incredibly well, right? But
it's great
now what we're
graphics.
getting is the tactile ability to reach out and grab something. Now what we need is the feedback. You know what
Haptic
I mean? That's
feedback. Hmm.
exactly. Once we get the feedback figured out and people are actually getting like a really good simulation or representation of that feedback, it's going to be super interesting.
I wish there's a
I'm
way
I'm
for us to
excited about it.
tell, like, let's say this is where Ready Player One is, and this where nothing VR
Right.
before. I want to see where we are on that scale. Like, are we closer to this end now, or are we still like closer to this end? You know, like I think
I'm
we
I'm
each getting
I'm
closer. I
with
think we're
you.
right in between right now. I think we're right in between. We're getting
I
closer.
think we're definitely getting there, right?
Yeah.
Have
I
you
mean,
have you been doing any VR stuff with the
yes
pandemic?
and no. So I have done it before the pandemic. I got this stuck in my backpack. I have this 360 camera that allows me to
Uh-huh.
record things 360. So I went to a few conventions shooting everything in 360. Again, lots of files is. I also throw that to my editor and they edited it for me too. Oh, poor editor.
There you go, you should. She's
But
gonna get it and have no idea, which is like, "What the heck is this?"
oh, I gave her extra days to like, hey, take your time, figure this out, see if you understand what it is. If not, talk to me. We'll see how this works. But I
Sure.
was, it's great because I did a few photo shoot with it too, so people can see how the photo shoot was done, how the model is, being there, and how I am, over
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Uh, and if you wear a VR headset to watch the YouTube video, you can actually turn around, look at the environment, and
Oh,
then see
yeah.
how it is.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
really helpful for like people who are actually trying to learn photography as well.
When it's funny that you're talking about that because I think that's actually, this is not VR related, but the process is related, and that's having a visible kind of representation. We keep talking about that, like visible representations of
Hmm.
of what people are gonna be getting in the finished product. And so one of the major benefits for me in working in 3D, I would say this is something that differentiates me from a lot of the other prop makers, right?
Hmm.
So when I get approached by a company and they're like, "Hey, we're interested in getting something made. Can you submit a bid? Can you do this? Blah 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 blah." Right. So for me, what I can do is actually have like this live kind of conversation with them, and they can remote in and I can screen share. And this is something I did far before the pandemic started. But I can sit there in ZBrush, right, and just in real time sit there and start sculpting and doodling and building forms that
Mm.
once they have this visible representation of what they're asking for. This is especially so with people that want like prototypes made, right? The
Hmm.
moment they start seeing what's in their head starting to be made, even if it's in a digital format, they're hooked. They're just like, "Oh my
Yes.
god, that's what I want. Yes, let's do it. Okay, where do I send the money to?" And
Hook
that's
you prop. I'm
that's
gonna hook you
something.
in.
Right, there you go, right? But it's something that I think is just another really good example about, like, the utilization of technology and how it really does kind of help in a
Mhm.
business environment if you use it right. Even if it's something that's like art related, or cosplay related. I've used the same exact process has helped me at land quite a few jobs with different game companies. And so it's also really beneficial though for the refinement process where, you know, I think if I had to say, like, working with Japanese countries, they have far, 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 far strict expectations
Oh,
and
yeah.
and an idea of what they want in the finished product, right? And so for me, being able to get somebody from like one of their art teams to be able to sit there and help me navigate what that finished product is supposed to look like, that definitely helps. And so they can help with the refinement. And the other thing though is since they've kind of signed off on it and seen it in real time,
Mhm.
it means that when they get the product, oftentimes they're far more relaxed because they have this idea of what they're getting. So they're not critiquing it nearly as harshly. You know what I mean? And that's always what
Yes.
scares me is just like the last thing I wanna do is make a prop and give it to somebody, whether it's just like, an individual or a company. Last thing I wanna do is give them something and them not be happy with it, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Because then that just kinda breaks my heart. I put a lot into my work. And so that's I guess in a way, I'm kind of covering my own butt by doing it in this process as well. Or at least maybe what I should say is there's far more,
Margin of
assurance.
error. Yeah.
There's I have a larger safety net or a margin of error, by being able to use the processes that I do. Maybe
Mhm.
that's why I've developed to the point I have with what I do. So, I don't
Because you
know, it's
show
always
them just like, "Hey, that's you said okay on this. You the one who said yes. That's how it looks like. I
you can't
showed
no,
you."
no, 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 you can't ever do that. You can't be like, "You said this was okay." You just be like, "Oh, I'm sorry that this is different than what it looks," because the moment you say they're wrong, and this is anybody, it doesn't matter what
Oh, of
what,
course. Of course you won't actually
culture they're
say
from,
that.
right? The moment you're like, "But you said it was okay," then they're like, "What else didn't you do right?" Right? And then they just start picking it apart, right? People are forgiving, right? But only within a certain margin, and the moment you piss them off, they're just vindictive, you know? And
Yeah.
that's another thing though, is like, man, that's just people in as a whole. We were talking a little bit about people and feelings and all that stuff. And that's something that comes to mind for me is just uh I feel like you and I we do well when we talk about like business related topics and
I
marketing
love
because we're
business
both
related
really
stuff. Yeah.
interested into it, right? So
Yeah.
another kind of another facet of the Hoku Props, Chad of Hoku Props, is the fact that when I said I went to UC Riverside, I went to UC Riverside for business. I got a degree in arts management business, but I also did a tremendous amount of like economics classes as well.
Yay.
So like I'm like a couple classes away from a degree in economics as well. But it's all fascinating to me because, studying resource allocation essentially, how do
Mhm.
my decisions on how I spend my money or my resources, time, whatever it is, how is that benefiting me?
And that's
And
a cool thing
so,
I learned about econ classes. Like I was double major in economics and international world trade. So I'm a
oh
business kind
yeah,
of person and I worked in
so
Silicon Valley before this. So
yeah,
again, it's not really about like how just the
oh yeah, so you and
international
I are
economic
two peas
work.
in a pod.
Yeah. It's to figure out
Really.
how does that things become efficient and like what do people want? Like what kind of incentive?
Everybody
Like
thinks
yeah.
economics is math though, and it's really
It's
not,
not. It's what people want.
so everybody's heard of Socrates, and one of my favorite quotes from in this remember I told you I was like, "We're gonna shut up before we started the stream." My favorite quote is from Socrates, and it's something along the lines of, "Without self-examination, there is no improvement." And what he's saying is, look at the mistakes that you're making.
Mhm.
All of these mistakes, it's all resource allocation. It's all time, it's all money, it's all energy, whether that's physical or mental, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you look at where your mistake or where your resource allocation was good and you focus on trying to repeat that success, you're going to do better. But if you're not
Mhm.
willing to look at your mistakes, then you're just going to be going blind and you're never going to be maximizing the chance of success, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So what I was what I was trying to get at is just I think that oftentimes we're kind of in this position where we're a bit fragile and we're not really willing to take criticism. And the thing about it is, obviously, don't just ask anybody for criticism. Ask somebody who you're going to actually value the criticism from, because
Mhm.
otherwise you're just going to get pissed, right?
Yep.
But like who's somebody that Adam Savage. I'm a huge fan of Adam Savage, right? He's this
Mhm.
amazing, wonderful crafter. He's this person in the world that we all should admire, right? I would go to him any day and be like, "Please tell me everything you think I'm doing wrong," and I would
Mm.
listen. I would
Mhm, mhm.
respect every single thing he said, right? But if I were to go to some random person and they just laid into me, I would feel attacked, right? And I think that's the thing is our society, we're looking for reassurance so often from people
It's
that
an echo
really
chamber.
don't.
Chamber. Yeah.
Exactly, that's exactly it, though, is when we're constantly looking for reassurance from people, there's always a good chance that the reassurance that we're gonna be getting isn't actually what we want.
Mhm.
But what is the person's credentials who's actually giving us that reassurance or that criticism? It's like, go to people who can genuinely help you, and there's a chance that you're gonna grow from it. But if you're just asking everybody to make you feel better, you never know what you're gonna get,
Oh, no,
you
yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So,
And that's
just
the problem with social media, like, I hate it when people so here's my problem, and
social
this is gonna
media
be
is
like,
terrifying.
oh, man. So, like, for example, like, a lot of us are I would consider us a small business, right? Like, we're
Oh,
one
sure.
man or two people or few people business, very small. But
If
essentially
your tax return was mostly 1099s like mine,
mhm.
then you are, in fact, a small business.
Exactly. And here's the thing, if you're a small business, you push out a product, and then, if your customers say that, oh, I like this better, I like that better, that should be
Sure.
acceptable. But the problem is that when people on the internet say, oh, I actually would like this better, and they're like, oh, who asked you? I'm like, but you're a business. If Apple come up with an iPhone that people don't like, people will shit on it all day. But no one's gonna
Oh,
be like,
yeah.
oh, you can't shit on Apple because like who asked you? Like, no. I mean, you should able to apply what someone go toward a big company to a smaller scale to someone a small business,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
criticism, and how can people attract more customers that way as a business, you know? But I don't think people take that very well.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. But the thing though is like you bring up Apple, and the thing about it is when you're at that level, and this is something a lot of people might not realize, is when you're the scale of a company like Apple or Microsoft or any of them, right?
Hmm.
Any press is still technically good press.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Because you're visible, people are going to look up your
Talk about
products,
it.
and there's going to
Hmm.
be and your major goal is to have a strong enough brand loyalty where you've got people that are going to actually represent you and say, no, this isn't the case, blah 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 blah, right? And then so now you're having that conversation is happening, and the moment that happens, that conversation, that directly correlates with sales. It
Hmm.
really really does, because
It's
people are going to be like, all right, whether it's good or bad, like how many people on YouTube go by can I swear on this? No,
yeah, you
sorry, I
can
won't.
share. You can say whatever the
Okay,
fuck you
how
want.
many people are gonna go buy shit products just so they can go on YouTube and review and just demolish them? Plenty of people,
Hmm.
it's still a sale though, right? So
But
it's
here's the
like,
thing: you also get new people
eh,
who didn't even know
I
about
don't
the product.
benefit from that, you know?
Hmm.
People shitting on like my props or something, like, I would just be like, "Oh god, I'm horrified from the thought of it," right? I want everyone to be happy.
But
But
big
that's the thing is
influencer
there's such a
do have
difference.
do have that benefit as well.
Yes,
Every
they
time a
do.
big influencer get canceled, they get more popular because you get
Oh,
all these
yeah.
people who didn't know who they were, or like who is this Logan Paul person? They look it up. It's like, oh, okay. Of course, you're gonna get half new people who hate him, but you might get half the new people. It's like, actually, his stuff's pretty funny. I want him,
Oh, sure.
and he
Oh,
has, of
sure.
course, the same thing. The
But that's
loyalty fan,
that's the
like Apple
danger.
fanboy.
Dude, that's the trap of algorithms, though.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy's a big fan of Sammy and I both really. We're both big fans of Philip DeFranco now. She kind of
Mm-hmm.
like got me onto him. And he was talking the other day about the dangers of algorithms and how it affects actually kind of the our older, like our parents' generation, far more negatively than it probably does us, because we understand a little bit more better. But it's like every time you and I go and we talk about randomly, we go on Facebook and then something pops up that we're talking about, we're like, Facebook is listening, right? Our parents don't realize that. They instead
Mm-hmm.
are like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted. And then they click, there's your clickbait. And there's that lack of kind of comprehension, the fact that it's actually tailored, designed to respond to your searches and to build and
Mm-hmm.
populate your search based off of your past search history. So it's like when you look into like a conspiracy theory, for example,
Oh,
how
then
I don't know
yeah.
about your parents, but like I have a parent who is goes can has fallen into the trap before, and luckily I've had a
Mm-hmm.
chance to sit and talk to him and kind of like try and educate him with why it's happening the way it is. But it's like, imagine a parent sits there and they're like, is there actually some like earthquake machine under the Antarctic, right? And they search it one time, but then all of a
Everything
sudden
else.
there's a second one. But they click that one too. And then now there's 27 of them. And then it's an exponential growth on that response. And they're like, there would not be 500,000 results on this one topic if it wasn't real. And that's the trap, whether it's politics or religion or whatever it is algorithms are a terrifying thing and an incredible thing at the same time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Like I worked in Silicon Valley. The idea of algorithm is to give you things that you supposedly wanted,
Sure.
but it doesn't know it's good or bad. It's just like, oh, you like this
It has
thing?
no
We'll give you more
filter.
of that.
It has
Exactly.
no filter.
It's based on
Right.
your behavior, like it's same as eating, right? It's like, let's say you eat some junk food, it's bad for you. But then the world think like, oh, that's what you wanted? We're gonna give you nothing but junk food because that's what you asked for in the first place. And you keep
And then all
consuming
of the
it.
healthy food though, just because the way that the actual algorithms work get
Mhm.
filtered out because it's not relevant to your search.
Yep.
It's
And
just
you
like,
can
oh my
only,
gosh.
just like food, you can only consume so much per in a single day. So let's say
Right.
you're on the internet for 3 hours. If you fill up
Right,
3 hours
right.
of junk food, it's just all gonna be junk food and nothing else.
Yeah.
Because you cannot
Yeah.
expend more time. You can't be like, oh, yes, I might be eating more junk food, but I'm still spending another 3 hours eating healthy food. That doesn't work like that. You only have so much
No.
capacity to
Exactly.
intake all of this. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. What's his name? This late night show. He actually did an episode this weekend on
Oliver?
John Oliver. Yeah, about conspiracy theory. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
He's
yep,
a cool
it's
dude. We like John Oliver too. He's
it's fun.
definitely entertaining.
Maybe because he's also British, like I'm from a different country, so I also see things in a different perspective,
You know, one of the things that I am most grateful for and this is really a lot because of the cosplay community. I'm so grateful for the fact that I've had the opportunity to go to several other countries over the years,
Mm.
For judging contests and stuff. But I really having that exposure to other cultures and having exposure to how different governments handle the running of the countries and seeing how other people do it, having that diversification of really my comprehension, it's so beneficial. And I think that's one of the things that's so kind of just it's sad that more people don't have that opportunity. And that's why I kind of encourage anybody, except for right now, please stay home.
Travel more.
Had to do that, right? Wear a mask. But everybody really should try and travel at least a little bit, because it definitely gives you a much wider, broader kind of just idea of how the world works. Just because we do something one way here in America doesn't mean that it's actually how it has to be done. And a
Mhm.
lot of people, I don't think, realize that. They
Yeah.
really don't.
Oh yeah. No, they don't. Like here's the thing. Here, like let's talk about cosplay world, right? There's many things I can talk about it. I can talk about it for days.
Yeah, let's ask about cosplay.
Like here's the thing. Like that's two things, right? Before I forget, one is about Japan, the other is about industrialization of cosplay. I feel like
Oh, sure.
America, like I have compared to many countries, and I talk to photographers, cosplayers all around the world. And same as you, I've been a cosplay judge or a guest in different. Luckily, allow me to go to different parts of the world to learn
Yeah.
about it and to experience cosplay in different country, different region. And USA is still the most, as an industry wise, it's the most progressive one, most advanced one. The other country
sure.
has it, but they're like at least 5 years behind when it comes to industrialization, like a sustainable business for people.
Right.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we had to do a lot of it through sexualization because it sex
Oh, yeah.
sells.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you later about that too, like how you feel about it since you're on the prop side and more less on the sexualization part. Like I feel like, but if we didn't do that, we'll never get to where we are, like for cosplay as an industry. So I'm glad. So maybe eventually we'll go back to the points that like, oh, we can also as well as appreciate the craftsmanship of it as well, because we had that for a really long time. Because we're limited with resources, limited with by the internet, so things are very cool. Like people always love the Russian cosplay stuff, right? Like Russian, they're like, oh, amazing cosplay, amazing photos, location, props. People really admire it, but yet they don't do it here. It's not because we cannot. It's just because business, if you're a cosplayer who want to make a living on cosplay, it would not make sense for you to spend more money more time to work on a really elaborate cosplay, spend more money on photographer, location, and travel. and not get paid as much as you just dressing up in a bikini, you know?
Sure,
So I
sure.
understand it. Again, we're business people. So I'm like, I don't hate it. I
Yeah.
understand it, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's a really good way of putting it though. And this is a topic that I've discussed with Sam before. And the thing about it is, I don't judge people based off of what they're doing for their business model, right? You know,
mhm,
if you're making a living and if you're not harming yourself in the process of it, who am I to really judge?
right.
You know, whatever it is that you're doing. The only thing that I think saddens me is that oftentimes, you know, the entire cosplay scene from outside perspective, you know what I mean? Like, you and I
Mhm,
understand what it is. You and I understand that the cosplay community has all sorts of different niche business models, whether it's your prop maker or it's your person who's just doing these incredible photo edits, right? Like
mhm.
Alexandra Lee, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or you have, you know, the person who's doing the 3D printing, or the person who is doing the modeling, or the lewds, or the Patreon, or whatever it is.
Mhm,
All of the different business models, you know, some people have been able to make them work. The only thing that I think has saddened me is I've seen people that aren't comfortable with like lewds, for example. It's such a dangerous topic, right? But the only thing that I think will ever sadden me so much with it is the fact that some people feel that they have to do it to be relevant. And that's what's sad to me, because I don't agree with that. I think that there are some other options. But in the end of the day, I'm also practical, and I also have an education in business. And what it really comes down to is, you do reach a point where if there's something that you don't want to do, and you know that to be relevant, you have to do it. You do need to consider that that is not actually what you should be doing. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And you are completely correct, though. Sex does sell. And the thing that I think it's important to really respect and accept the fact that for the larger world, the outside world, the non-cosplayers, it is definitely been far more, it's been far more approachable to just the normal world by
mhm,
having, you know, people that are doing modeling, people that are doing lewds, people, they get excited about that even if they have no idea what it's from. You have this beautiful girl, you know, and it's getting, you know, all sorts of different attention. And
mhm,
that is what's I think hard. Is I think we've reached a point now where there's so much inflation and there's so much saturation on the market that there's not a whole lot of room for new people. And so now what's happened is people are trying to push their boundaries and push and push and push and push and push. And I'm kind of afraid of where it'll eventually end up, because I think it's going to end up in a position where there are some people that are definitely being taken advantage of. And so what
mhm.
I would encourage people to do, if that's the route they're going, is definitely consult with other people in the industry. There are some people that are super nice and super kind and super willing to talk. You probably know more of them than I do, because you're a photographer and I just sit inside of a workshop all day. But definitely reach out to people that are a part of the industry and try and see if what you're doing is okay. Try and see if the photographers you're working with are okay and safe. And just make sure that you're not going into it with your eyes, you know, blindfolded, because the last thing I want to see is this wonderful community that we have, the cosplay community, just get torn apart because of drama and a couple of really bad eggs. And you and I
Mhm.
both know that they do exist, and there will be more that come in, and all we can do is try and protect everybody that is a part of the community,
I try to take
you
them
know,
out all the
from
time, you know, those bad
that.
eggs.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And so, you know, it's definitely a US thing though, for sure. I've seen more of it.
So, but
I
here's the
also
thing,
think,
like,
well,
sorry. Go ahead.
you know what I was gonna say is I feel like, and this is maybe it's too broad of a kind of um, analysis of it, but I think a lot of other countries are raised with a different work ethic than a lot of us here in the United States. And I don't think that's any one person's fault. I think a lot of it just has to do more with how industry works here versus
Mhm,
how it works in other countries. You know, some other countries, we have such a surplus of availability of resources. It's not even
Mhm.
funny. You know what I mean? One of the kind of just most, how do I put this? One of the most heartwarming experiences I ever had is when Sammy and I were flown out to the Philippines to be guests at a convention and judge their contest. And
Mm.
we got to do a bunch of panels. And one of the things is I'm very much known for doing CNC work, 3D printing, that kind of stuff, right? And that's
Mhm.
not 3D printing specifically. When we went out there, was not really available in the Philippines, right?
Mm.
Their technology had not, they hadn't really gotten that industry available out there at a reasonable price.
Mm.
And so I was like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna fly a full suit of my armor out there. Holy crap, that's gonna suck. But luckily the convention was willing to support that.
Mm,
But so
mhm.
I brought a technique and I brought a technology out that they hadn't really had as much of an opportunity to experience in real life. And it was so great. I brought Uther out and I'm just taking pieces
Oh.
off in the middle of this panel and we're passing them around. We're like, everybody just hold this, touch this, really experience it and see what's going on here. Because I did that because I knew that in 3 years, in 2 or 3 years, they were going to get 3D printers. They
Mhm.
were going to get access to these materials. They were going to be at the point that they were going to be able to do, all of the same kind of process that I use. And what was so kind of exciting about that though is I also know that the work ethic of like the Filipino community out there, especially the cosplay community, is just incredible. They're using
Mhm.
all sorts of different materials that are available to out them. Some of which, like, there's guys using cardboard and they're making
Very
these
limited,
costumes
yeah. Mhm.
that are just incredible.
I mean, that's what
And
how I
so,
fell in love in cosplay in the first place. We had to be
sure.
very, very creative like 10 years ago because
Oh
you
yeah.
can't buy any of this stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's not the same
Well,
anymore.
I would say this is something that I lucked out. So I feel like, and this is only with the knowledge of conversation I've had with Sam before. So Sammy came from the cosplay community, and we're talking. She's been doing this since like I don't know, like 2005 or something, right?
Mhm.
I came from the prop making world, so like replica prop form, all that. And from what I've heard, the cosplay community was actually really bad about sharing knowledge
Oh,
at its like
yeah,
earlier stage, right? Where people
definitely.
would hoard that knowledge, hoard that technique,
It's a
all that.
taboo to even ask people on how they do things.
Right. And that to me is a terrible, terrible thing. And so coming from the prop world though, dude, everybody's super excited to share their knowledge. And so I was having a conversation with my mom once, and she's not a cosplayer, she's not a part of this world, but she's a brilliant woman, right? And she said something to me that was kind of interesting. And once again, this is not a blanket statement, but it is something I think is relevant. And she said that oftentimes what she's noticed is that cosplay for a lot of people is an escape from reality. Would you agree? For some
Mhm.
people, it's like here's this incredible character that I idolize, who I really want to represent. I want to be him or her for at least a little while, and a lot of times it helps people. It helps them
Mm.
kind of feel that same kind of just property or that same kind of personality trait they admire so much. They feel like they are able to really feel it themselves.
Mhm, mhm.
The prop making world is completely different though. It's it's really about taking this thing that doesn't exist and making it a part of your reality. So one I feel like is kind of entering the fantasy and taking those traits and enjoying the benefit of them. And the other is I don't want something to be excluded from my reality. And so
Mm.
for me as a prop maker, the most real rewarding process is the fact that I can take something that doesn't exist and make it exist. That is
Mhm.
that is the important kind of core. There's no fantasy element about that for me, at least. Once again, like I said, this is just a generalized statement, right? But I love being able to make that thing, being able to take the thing that I think is so cool and then hold it or wear it or do whatever it is. But it's not about
The thing about
there's far less
cosplay
of a role play element, I guess is what I'm saying.
because
You know?
cosplay is such a for a lot of them, both if they're doing as a business or as individual, even just for fun, is very much
Sure.
tied to themselves as a person. I
Right,
guess
right.
props making is less about on that side. Even for me for photo, like it's weird
In a
because
way,
like
it's
yeah,
in a way, it's almost there's like almost an exclusivity to it though, where it's like this is about me, or that sounds bad. I
that's
don't
why
mean
it's
it that
really
way.
hard for them to
You
take
know what I mean though, right?
criticism because like
Sure.
they really think that when people are criticizing their cosplay or whatever they're making, they think it's talking about them as a person when it's not. When it's definitely
Right.
just about their craftsmanship or like whatever they're
Yeah.
making. It's not about you as a person, as Chad or as Martin. It's just this
Yeah.
thing that I'm looking at. But because people
Yeah.
are so tied to their own core as themselves, then they kind of have that. They will try to defend themselves rather than
Sure.
take criticism well, and that's tied back to what we are saying
I
earlier.
think, for me, one of the major important factors of my life is always trying to maintain a semblance of balance, really, right?
Hmm.
And so for me, I think the healthiest balance is having an appreciation for both elements. So for me, I do cosplay. Like Reinhardt, for example, as you know, was just this larger than life character who had one eye. I really resonated with his personality. I loved just how kind and caring he was, but also the fact that he's willing to stand up to bullies. I hate bullies, by the way. I hate them with a passion, right? So for me,
As
it
we all
was
should.
like, I agree, right? I grew up luckily enough, I was always like I said, chatterbox, I was the big kid, right?
Uh
And
huh.
so people didn't mess with me, but my friends, my nerd friends, they all got picked on and stuff. So I was always the big protector. I was like a little mini version of Reinhardt. That's how I feel, right? And so like I got into fights and stuff, and I was protecting friends, and of course I got in trouble, but whatever, it was the right thing to do, right?
Hmm.
But so fast forward, here I am now in a position where I'm actually able to cosplay, and I'm able to really experience so much of what a lot of people don't realize this, by the way, but Lionheart was really my first cosplay. Like genuinely speaking, it was the first cosplay I've ever done for myself. So I had made props and stuff for other people and costume parts for other people. I'd never actually really cosplayed. You know what I
That's
mean?
that's
So
crazy.
so for me, it was like this. I mean, keep in mind, I had all the skills and stuff to
You do,
to
yeah,
make
huh?
something like that, but I'd never embodied that character. And that's what cosplay is to me. We did this like intermission video about a while ago about what is cosplay to them. And
Oh
people are
yeah.
talking about like it's about community and it's about this and about all these different things. For me, what it was is just being able to be that character that I really idolized. I loved it so much, and Reinhardt. So but yeah, so it's like for me, it was just yeah, I don't know. I'm good. I'm done. I'm done with the topic. But yeah, so it's just I want to see people really approach it in both factors, like cosplay and whatever reason you're doing it, do it for sure,
Mhm.
especially for yourself. It's okay for you to be selfish and do it for yourself if that's what it is. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's about the community. But I also think it's important to kind of share your knowledge and don't hoard it. And so sorry, we went on a tangent, but
No, no,
the
that's
the
what we do.
prop making, yeah, the prop making community was very, very, very good about sharing knowledge just from the moment I found them. And so I think a lot of what's brought me to where I am today is just the fact that that knowledge was made readily available through different mediums like YouTube and, like I said, the replica prop forum or like the 501st. Like holy crap! If you want to just find knowledge,
Oh,
those are
they're
three
crazy. Yeah.
resources that has everything you really could ever want to learn.
I think it's also because cosplay, as we said before, also tied to the person, is also a very big popularity contest. And
Yeah, I hate that.
yeah. And a lot of kids
I
here,
hate that.
as we said, like they might not have such a good time back in school, being a nerd, being a geek. So cosplay was an escape, and some of them unfortunately also become bully in the cosplay scene because they finally get a taste of that kind of
The
popularity.
fame. Oh yeah, when
Yeah.
somebody's growing up and they're totally not the cool kid, and then when
Hmm.
they're an adult, they're the cool kid, and rather than being humble and appreciate the success that you've had and trying to share
They
that
become
success,
the
it's
thing
the
they
worst.
hated.
I hate it. I hate when I see that happen. It's like you're no different now than you were in the past. It's just now people aren't picking on you. So it's like, why are
Hmm.
you now picking? It's like, why are you propagating the cosplay community with bullies when you've been bullied yourself? Like, it's the worst. It's one of the worst things, you know?
Hmm. And that's
It's
the thing, because they
I
become
hate bullies,
popular.
man.
They become popular in the cosplay
Yeah.
scene, then therefore they don't want to give them up. So that's why they don't share knowledge. They want to be like, oh, I want to hoard off this, like, wow, I still can't because I never experienced it before, and that become
You
a,
know
a
what?
problematic situation.
It's so dumb though because luckily enough, having worked, because I've also done work with like professionals and then an entertainment industry, and I've worked on like
Mm.
music videos and theater and all sorts of different industries, right? Being exposed to legitimate special effects artists and model makers and hearing the stories, and there's not a single person in the cosplay world that actually has knowledge that only they know. They just think that they're special. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because you're
It's
not
funny because a
special.
lot of the stuff that
You're
we
doing
do was already in the movie
incredible stuff.
industry.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, so much of what cosplay in the prop making world was rediscovering what the movie industry was already doing. I
Mhm.
was on a webinar last week with an individual who is one of the lead prop makers on Star Wars, like the original
Mm.
trilogy. And we were talking about Reinhardt, and I was showing him like different processes, and he got super excited because when it comes to like prop making and mold making specifically, and when you're doing prosthetics, one of the things that's important to understand is one of the materials that's used most often is foam latex, and foam latex will actually contract after it's molded, after it's
Mm.
cast. It's like 8% or something like that. And
Mm.
so if you think about it, if you do a life cast on somebody, right, and you sculpt on that bust, well, it's going to contract 8%. It's not going to fit them, right? Well, how do
Mm.
you take a life cast and blow it up 8% and actually do it in a legitimate fashion? There's no real way to do it, right? You can't just like
Uh-huh.
make a mold and then that mold
Make it
grows
big.
8%, right?
Yeah.
But there
Uh-huh.
is a way to do it, and that's digitally. So let's imagine rather than having a physical life cast, you have a digital scan. And that's how I work, right? I've got digital scans. And so
Mm.
I was talking to him, and like I showed you, like swapping to ZBrush Life, I started showing him with my cable costume how it's like I knew exactly how much my material was going to be able to contract. So I actually was able to blow everything up by 80% to offset for that shrinkage. And he got super excited about it, right? And that's because it's like he hasn't been exposed to the digital realm. And I'm sitting here going, I'm exciting one of the lead artists from Star Wars. That's kind of cool, right? And I am a prop maker and a cosplayer, right? And he's getting excited about what we're doing. And that's because what we're doing is legitimate. It is a legitimate process, what so much of us are using now. And it's also the same process that a lot of people in the industry are using. And what's the other thing? He was super excited how I did Reinhardt because I found out that the way that I did the arms and the legs for Reinhardt was pretty much the same way that they did the Wampa in Empire Strikes Back.
Ooh,
So that's
that's
pretty cool.
cool. Like here's the thing.
I was like, wow,
That's
I
why
did
I
that.
like the next step. The next step for a lot of us content creator is, I mean, not even next step, but lots of people are already doing it, and I encourage people to do it as well. Is edutainment, education,
Oh yeah.
entertainment,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
what I've been trying
I
to work
love
on
that
too.
term. A friend of mine uses that term. He actually says that's what I do. He's like, you do edutainment because you're fun to listen to and entertaining, but we're learning so much. And that's because what we're doing though, I feel like the moment people have a smile on their face and they're interested in what's going on because of the entertainment side of it, they're in a
Mhm.
much better position to take their phone and set it down and pay the fuck attention to what we're actually doing, right? So
Mhm.
there's that actual
It feels
there's
like
that
less of
actual
going to class.
connection.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right.
It's not
Right.
like doing a
That's
teacher where you're like
exactly.
forced to learn something. It's more like, oh, I
I
actually
call
want to
it
hear what they
I
say.
call it I call it emotional engagement. Sammy would say that's one of my buzzwords. She's like, "You say that all the
Mm.
time, right?" But that's really what it is. Emotional engagement. The moment somebody is emotionally engaged in a topic, they're gonna
Mhm.
actually be in a far better position to retain it. I'm sure you've experienced this before, but like on panels when we kind of do open QAs and people are like, "Oh, I was making this thing and then I had this problem," right?
Mm.
And so what's so interesting in my approach now to answering questions is oftentimes like I could sit there and I could just like say something, but if I try and I use an example that's very, very similar to theirs, right? So first and foremost, you know, you and I both know we're just normal people, right? We're just idiots.
Yeah.
And no offense. But
No, not at all. We just got into doing what we
some
love, which is great.
right, but some people have a tendency to put others on a pedestal. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And they think that this person is able to do things that they don't. So the first thing I do in a panel is I go, you know, like I try to make sure that they realize that I am not anything special. I just work really hard at what I do, right? The only
Mhm.
thing that's special about me is I work hard. And that's, I think, an actual special ability or skill, right? The second thing though is the moment I can get them myself off that pedestal. So let's say somebody's like, I had a problem with paint. So if I go, I had that exact same problem with paint. Okay, now that person isn't failing because they're stupid. They're failing
Mhm.
because what they're doing is actually a difficult thing. Because I also screwed up in the exact same fashion, right? So I
And
like
if you
to make
tackle
sure
the
they
same problem.
realize Exactly. I want them to realize that I am just as big of a screw up as they are, right? If that's what's going through their head. The second thing though is I will take whatever that screw up that's similar to theirs, right? And I'll walk them through it. Oh, sorry. I thought Alexa was like talking to me. So so I start talking about like the problem I was having though, and I realized that one sec.
No worries. It's the robot invasion.
Yeah, Alexa
The
was
robot
like
invading.
Alexa was just like, "What would you like to eat today?" No, she didn't say that. Oh God, now she's talking. Alexa, stop.
That's why I
That was
changed mine
interesting.
to
Sorry,
lower
this is where
computer.
edits take place, right? But yeah, so getting back to it. So in the middle of a panel, you know, we'll basically make them feel like they're not a screw up and that we're not anything special. But then as I walk through the solution that I took to resolving my own problem, I don't want to tell them how to fix their problem. I want them to figure out how to fix their own problem. But the way that I do that is I will talk about my failure and the steps that I kind of took to try and figure out how to solve it. And it's funny because like a third of the way into it, like their eyes glaze over and they're completely disassociated from what I'm actually saying, because what I'm assuming is happening is they're actually like kind of superimposing their problem over what I'm saying, and in real time they're problem solving their own thing. And it's so awesome because once you do that, and once they've kind of figured out an idea of how they're going to fix their problem, then they're just like super excited, and then it's like it's such a
'Cause they
rewarding
can see
experience
themselves
for
doing
people to
it, you
solve their
know?
own problems. That's it, exactly. It's so rewarding for people to watch somebody fix their own problem or solve their own problem. It's and then they also feel good about it though, because then they don't feel like a failure, you know? And
And here's the
that's one
thing.
of the most rewarding things ever for me.
I posted on my Facebook yesterday too, on my status after Johnny's comment, and the same thing is the drummer from what's his name, David Gold or whatever. He's
Grohl?
from Grohl,
Foo Fighters?
yeah, Foo Fighter, yeah, that guy. Like he said
Dave Grohl.
something similar, like which is like in the beginning
He was
we
also
all
he was
suck. Oh yeah,
he was also
Foo Fighter
Nirvana.
and us. Nirvana, yeah, there we go. There's a picture online. I was like, this guy looks like this guy, and it's of course it's him in two different bands.
He is.
But yeah, no, the thing is like, yeah, we all supposed to suck in the beginning. We all suck so bad in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like my photos in the beginning suck, and they still do. But it's just we constantly do more and more. We have a lot of practice. Like the difference between,
yeah. I have another kind of philosophy or ideology about that though. Is like,
hit me.
so it isn't so much that we suck at the beginning. It's that when you first start at something, it takes you far longer to get the results that you want. You know what I mean? So right now, what I'm able to do with my prop making is through experience, I have been able to overcome all of the stop gaps that exist normally in making something. I've made all of the mistakes and learned how not to repeat those mistakes enough times where I don't continue repeating them. So my product is finished faster. I see people in the cosplay community that will take a year to make a costume, but that costume is just as good, if not better, than the ones that I make. And that is because in their case, it's not so much that their skills aren't as good as mine. They just take longer to achieve the same results. And that is, I think, really the only thing that differentiates somebody that's a professional versus an amateur is how fast you're able to accomplish certain things.
We just became more efficient because we know how to skip what kind of mistake. Yeah. Like that's why I talk to even like indie game company, because sometimes I do advising for them and I tell them it's like it's not as important if you're doing the right thing. It's just more important you don't do the wrong thing, because it takes a lot of time to fix those mistakes. And me coming advising is not telling you exactly what to do because the marketing keeps changing, but it's telling you what not to do, because those mistakes gonna cost you time and money. So you can focus on
and neutral press is whatever. Bad press is bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you can work in any kind of position between like neutral and good. If you're within that buffer in that area, you're doing all right. The moment you start dipping into the bad stuff, these are the things that are going to cause you to shut down, you know? And so
and not
it's
only
trying
like
to make sure you don't go there.
let's just say it's using a number scale. Let's say you do -2. You have to bring it to a +4 in order to have a +2 from that 0 point. So it's a lot
Yeah.
more effort. And that's only assuming you don't
Yeah.
make more mistake because of that -2. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's a cosplay scene. And I still remember the other points I had made about the cosplay thing that like kind of annoy me is about Japanese culture. Like a lot of cosplayer in America has this fascination with Japan and Japanese culture, which is great, not a problem. But I don't think they
Right.
also understand that like a lot of Japanese culture still see otaku or nerd as geek. It's not a cool thing. It's not that cool. But a lot of people in our
Right.
scene is like, oh, that's how all Japanese people are. Like, no.
No.
That's not the case.
Not
You need
at
to
all.
travel more because you've been to Japan. Like, of course, it's cool, geek, nerdy stuff. But a lot of traditional, working men and women, that's not how they think.
It
But they
is
think, oh,
such
Japan's
a
like that.
different society. It's such a different culture than ours, and I think it's super, super beneficial. Like I was saying earlier, it's beneficial to go there and experience that. But once
Mhm.
again, I think, that's another thing that we as Americans, or I guess me, because while you are in fact
I'm also
American,
American
you
too,
sure, but
but I'm from a
you
different
came
country.
from a culture, so you have a perspective that's different than somebody that's Native American, right?
Yep.
So as an American, what I've seen is the fact that if there was a quality of ours that would say I really dislike, it's the fact that a lot of times Americans think they know what something is, or they think that they are actually right about things. They make assumptions that they really shouldn't. And I think that's one thing that I would encourage people to definitely do, is to stop making assumptions.
I think,
Stop speaking when you don't actually know what they're talking about, you know?
but it's such an
You don't
American
need to have an
concept.
opinion on everything, right? Yeah. You know what I mean though, right? People don't have to always have an opinion. It's
Mhm.
okay to be quiet.
It's
You know what
okay
I
to say
mean?
I don't know about something. Let me look more into
Well,
it.
you know what's the benefit though of keeping your mouth shut when at least at the start? It's okay to have an opinion, right?
Hmm.
But the benefit of not always voicing your opinion is oftentimes you actually learn what the right answer is before you
Hmm.
open your mouth. So you actually look way smarter.
Tell that to Twitter.
People want to stop. Yeah, exactly. But if people want to stop looking so dumb and sounding so dumb, keep your mouth shut until you hear what the actual truth is. And then all of a sudden, you can actually say the next time you're in that position, you can be like, no, I learned this from so and so, who is, once again, a professional or somebody who
An
has the
expert.
know or the knowledge. They imparted this knowledge onto me, and I was smart enough to keep my mouth shut. And so I actually was able to absorb that knowledge. And now I'm able to then share that knowledge. And now what we're having is a much, much better likelihood of that knowledge being genuinely transferred to multiple people. And
Hmm.
that's another thing is, man, come on, guys, just keep your mouth shut a little while and listen.
That
you know
reminded me of a post I saw on Facebook where it's like, should I trust all these scientists who spend years and years studying,
Oh god,
virus, studying about
we're going there,
biochemistry, or I
huh?
can listen to my high school friend who failed just high school biology. Maybe he knows something that I don't, and all the scientists don't. I wonder
Oh
who's
yeah.
right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As a person who for a living has to wear a mask more than half of the time,
Hmm.
I know why you're supposed to wear a mask. I also so I actually worked at UC Riverside. I was the lab tech for their sculpture lab. So I had to go through a tremendous amount of training about toxic materials and particulate matter and how to prevent stuff from actually getting into your lungs and proper sealing and all of the different safety kind of processes that are required when you're in that kind of position. And so, like, I see these people. I'm not even a health professional, right? But I know how some of this works, right? And so seeing some of just this random inundated knowledge that has no actual background of truth behind it, I look at it and I go, that is a fucking algorithm's fault, right? Like clearly right. So I don't know, man. I will say I'm really glad that Twitter started doing fact checking on certain individual statements, because the one thing, like like with my dad, for example, is the problem you run into with an algorithm. It's not that it propagates your search with correlation on that topic. It's that it actually hides the chance of you experiencing an alternative to
Hmm.
whatever it is you're looking up, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the best thing we can all do is to try and get our news from multiple sources, because there's kernels of truth behind all of them, and you just start correlating with what seems to resonate with all of them, and you're like, okay, so that's kind of what the truth might be.
People like to
Might
rush
be.
though. Yeah,
That's because we're lazy, man.
like the
We
news. Let's
really
say,
are.
yeah, let's say someone come up with some information saying, oh, even anyone tomorrow say, oh, the coronavirus is actually over in the states. Everyone's, oh, they'll just start posting about it, and even if they make a correction
Sure,
sometime later, they wouldn't
sure.
care about that much. They want to be the first news that release the information, and they want to be that one.
Well, what's so as like I said before, as somebody who wears a mask a tremendous amount of my life just to protect myself from the chemicals and the particulate matter that I work with daily. What a lot of people don't realize is there's another benefit that has nothing to do with keeping coronavirus from being inhaled. And you know what that is? When you got a mask
Uh
on
huh.
your face and you touch something that's infected, guess what you can't touch? You can't
No
touch your
contact.
face. There's a barrier there. That barrier is there. It's not just to prevent the actual transmission through the air. It's there
Mm-hmm.
to prevent you from taking your grubby hands and putting it in your nose and mouth. That's why
Mm-hmm.
wearing a face shield really, even if somebody doesn't want to wear a mask, let's say there's all of these people that are like, I don't want to wear a mask. It makes it hard to breathe, blah, blah. Fine. At least wear a face shield, because you might
Mm-hmm.
look stupid, but guess what? You still can't touch your face, because the
Mm.
majority of the actual transmission of virus starts with people getting stuff on their hands and then putting it in their mouth. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's funny for me because with what I do, I'm actually really good about not taking my fingers and putting them on my face, but I don't know, man. I
Yeah.
cheat though, because of the accident. I've got so much nerve damage, so if there's like an itch or a scratch on this side, I don't even feel it. So I cheat, right?
But yeah, for most people, and especially since we all have smartphone this day, we always will touch anything we touch. We'll instantly touch the phone, and then we'll,
Oh,
for
right.
instance, touch your face, and just
Oh,
everything touching everything. So
yeah, man. It's so funny for me because like I see these people running around with gloves, and it's like, so
but they
if
still
you've
touch
ever
their
worked.
face.
Right, right. So I was at a market, right, and I seen this gal, and she was fully like just to the walls, like PPE'd up, right?
Uh,
And she's got her gloves on. And I'm like, okay, cool, right? And she's like shopping and this and that, blah 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 blah, right? And then she gets a phone call. Reaches in her pocket, pulls out her phone, and puts it right against the side of her head, right? And then she her mask was there. So you know what she did? She pulled her mask down and then put it against the side of her head.
so she defeated the
And
whole point.
we're talking. She didn't take her gloves off at least, and then pull her phone out. No, she's got her gloves against the side of her head too. And I'm just like, we're fucked.
What's the point? Yeah. And she touched everything with
No,
those
we
gloves. So like,
are. The thing that's so just sad about it is like it's literally like if we could just do it for about a month, one solid month of people just staying at home when they can, right?
mm-hmm.
When they should, which is most of the time, and then also just wearing a mask. 1 month, we'd be gone. It would be done. It would be
We're a
gone. We'd be
much better
fine.
place. Yeah.
We'd be in a much better place.
Like
And
my
instead,
parents.
we've got like the
Yeah.
U.S. is literally going to be the worst country by the end of this, as
Oh
far
yeah.
as like the infection rates, easily, if we're not already. I don't even know. I try not to look anymore because it just makes me sad,
Depressing. Yeah.
because I
I
like humans. I want humans to live, but I'm really tired of seeing dumb humans.
I saw
That's
like a
for sure.
video, like the streets in Louisiana, and then it's just like the bar streets, where all the bars are. It's just full of people, and this is not like a few months ago. This is like 2 days ago.
Right.
Just full of
Oh,
people without
okay. So
masks.
like we live, I don't know if you go to Long Beach much, but we live near a street called Second Street, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a beach.
I was there last
Yeah.
time to do photos of the bioluminescence waves. So, but there
Oh
was
yeah,
lots of
yeah.
people.
So
Yeah.
so we literally live right near Second Street, right? I'm
Mhm.
not going to give you more details because I don't want people to know exactly where I live, right? Suffice to say, though, Second Street is
Packed
it's just popping, man. Like there's
at all
just
time.
people everywhere. All the restaurants are open again. Actually, the city of Long Beach, they did this thing on Second Street. I don't know if they're doing it at other places, but literally they just eliminated street parking, and then they built these like expansions outside for the restaurants to do outdoor seating at. And so they'll just have like these there's not keep in mind parking out here is already abysmal, right?
Oh,
And so
yes.
now it's not just abysmal, there's even less parking now. And there's just
Right.
all of these people out there with their dogs and their kids and their no masks. I was like, oh my
And it
gosh.
doesn't make sense. Some of them I have seen where they're doing outdoor, but then the table are very close to each other. Like, that, what's the point? Like, just because it's outdoor, it's not gonna solve the issue of the distance.
Right. Right.
So,
Oh man. The world the world is burning, my friend, and I'm sad because I like what we do, you know? And I
mm-hmm.
like the
I
people
want to
that I
doing
get
it.
to spend time with, you know, like hanging out with you or like stuff like that. It's like doing all this stuff, it's so fun. And I think that if we were a bit more responsible, we could return back to that. And the continuation of the shutdown process, it definitely correlates with people and their anger. And I would like to see people get the chip off their shoulders just long enough so we can actually let people stop dying, you know?
And for
It's
the
really what
like,
it is.
I feel bad for a lot of people who finally can go to convention for the first time this year, supposedly. But
Oh,
because of
sure.
this, it couldn't go. Remember, like
Sure.
how magical it was the first few times you go to conventions. Like, it
Oh,
was
yeah. Dude,
amazing.
like, I don't particularly like going to San Diego Comic-Con anymore. I
Okay, not
love the
Comic Con, but
convention.
not SDCC, but yes.
Sure, sure, sure. I love the convention. I don't like going to the convention, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's such a difficult thing to get in there. I will say with the RFID changes and all that, it's far more enjoyable than it was for the last couple of years before that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like just getting down there is such a terrible, terrible nightmare, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still think if I think that every single person that can should try and go to San Diego Comic-Con at least once because it is the truest just representation of nerd pop culture that exists in this day. Like, holy moly, it's incredible, right? I'd
I
say the
tell
same
people
thing about like
this.
BlizzCon too. BlizzCon's
SDCC
wonderful.
is like a mecca for nerds, geeks. Like,
It's
if you like that
Disneyland.
stuff, yeah, you
It
have to
is
go at least
literally
once.
nerd
Like,
Disneyland.
you might not enjoy every year, like all of it, but at least go once to see what it's like, to a
Right.
maximum form. But
Right.
but there's also all the type of other convention that we love, like such that BlizzCon or like even our local, like WonderCon, or
Sure.
even smaller one like ALA. It's just
Yeah,
fun to
man.
see how much people enjoy themselves.
Dude, I still like you said, I still remember the first time I went to SDCC and I walked in through the doors and I just look up
I'm here.
and there's just the giant, I think there was this giant Optimus Prime,
Mhm.
Hasbro Interactive or whatever setup. And I'm like,
Yep.
holy crap. And then to the right is like the Star Wars LucasArts setup.
And
And I'm
then
like, oh my
nonstop from
God,
like
I'm
further
in
than your
love.
eyes can see.
And it's literally it's like a mile of this. And I'm like, this is insane because I'd been to other conventions before, but
Mhm.
I was so unprepared. So I'm just walking through the store and I'm like, wow.
The
Right. Just
first time anyone go to
wow.
Comic Con, no one is able to prepare for it because you don't even know how to
No,
expect it. And
not
once
at
you
all.
enter, it's like, what is this?
I
Like, this
will
is
say
amazing.
cosplaying at San Diego Comic-Con is
Oh
the
no,
worst.
I would not suggest it. I tell people all
Well,
the
I've done
time,
it.
I would
I
not,
was
but
foolish
still.
enough to do it. Oh
Oh, I know
man.
lots of friends have done it, but it get
Yeah.
worse each year for cosplayer. Each year,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
So, but if you like
Absolutely.
cosplaying, I would
Agreed.
say try some smaller cons first to start out.
You know what? Like my favorite what is your favorite convention? Do you have one?
Yes. Okay, so I think my favorite conventions is between two region and two styles, right? So let's
Sure.
say the styles are like, are you doing for cosplay or doing for like, enjoyment? Not enjoyment, but like, different types of stuff. Like on the east side, I do love Kasukan. Like
Oh
the
yeah, Katsucon. Yeah.
cosplay is amazing. Of course, people bring their A game, and traditionally, East Coast have very amazing prop builders and fabricator.
Mhm.
So they make really
That's
elaborate
because all the
cosplay.
prop makers on the west side, or the West Coast end up working in the entertainment industry eventually, if you think
Yep,
about
yep, yep, yep.
it.
Like Manzi, like all of them, like they do great stuff. They take them in Hollywood, but
Yeah.
East Coast for really fun. I really like Colossal Con. I don't think you have
Yeah.
been before, but you should someday when
I've
they.
not been to Colossal Con.
Yeah,
No.
but even though it's not like really much of a showcase of cosplaying, but because of water park, it's just so much fun. It's enjoyable. I
Yeah,
think you would
I
like
can
it too, just
imagine.
for funsies.
See, I would probably like it, but the problem is Sammy would hate it because she's a vampire, remember? So like the moment she's exposed to the sun, she's just like, right? She's like, no, right? So
There's also the
I feel
indoor
like,
water park.
yeah, we. Oh, is it indoor?
It's
Oh, okay.
both.
Well,
It's
then that.
indoor and outdoor.
Oh,
That's how
gotcha.
fun it is.
Okay, so maybe it would be fun.
And nighttime we'll
It's,
just drink. They also sell alcoholic beverage everywhere.
oh gosh, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's a good idea.
So it's such a
I don't
fun
know if
kind
that's
of
a good
experience.
idea. You know, I was gonna say, like, I think that the thing that actually scares me the most when I'm walking around Second Street is the fact that there's so many people that are drinking, and I think that's probably one of the biggest kind of culprits as far as like the spread of COVID and all that. It is actually it's when people are in a public environment drinking. It's like, I'm not telling people not to drink, but when you're drinking in public, your inhibitions are lower. You're not going to be paying attention. Like half the time, people are so drunk they don't know what they're touching and putting in their mouth and
And then they
whatnot.
have to
and you just,
scream like bars allow. You'll be like, "Let me get this," and then what? And like just spitting everywhere.
oh yeah,
Your drink,
right? Yeah, just breathing out, death.
Yeah.
But so what is your other one? You said Katsukan and
That's
Colossal
the
Con,
East
right?
Coast side. So on the West
Yeah.
Coast, our end, I think the best one that I like are for funsy would be Fanime because it's my home con. I
Oh,
grew
sure.
up in NorCal, so Fanime is always a good balance between industry but also fun. So we really much by fan for fan kind of situation.
Sure.
And I think maybe BlizzCon for more
That sounds pretty good.
amazing cosplay because people
Yeah.
really bring their A game. It used to be AX, but it's become way too crowded and way too crazy.
Oh man, so I know you break down conventions based off of kind of style. I do the same thing, but for me, it's more like, is it more of an entertainment industry kind of convention, or is it, or I guess what you could say, is it more like a corporate convention, or is it more of a community convention? And what I mean by that, like Fanime, for example, very much small
Community-based.
as far as like your dealers hall and all that. It's really not the major emphasis of the convention. It's all about the community. It's all about the panels. It's all about the communication and gathering, right? I would say my favorite conventions are community conventions. It's the same thing like on the East Coast, Holiday Matsuri. I love that convention so much.
I have not done Holiday yet.
Good. You really got to go there because they have wonderful costumes, right? People bring their costumes, but there's a bunch of people doing themed costumes that are holiday themed. You know what I mean? And so like it's
Christmas
really
stuff.
cool, especially because in anime, it's such a common thing in different animes for these characters that we all love so much to have like
Holiday episode.
holiday theming, right? So people do those costumes as well, and then they do costume groups, and so it's also very much a community convention. But I would say my favorite convention though is there's one convention for me, and it is BlizzCon. And what's so cool about BlizzCon is because you've got incredible costumes, but the people that are going to BlizzCon aren't your stereotypical like cosplayers and convention attendees. They're Blizzard fans, right? And Blizzard has such a strong brand loyalty, right? So some of these people are working on these costumes for like years. And then this is finally their chance to really unveil how passionate they are about the Blizzard IP. And then Blizzard does such a good job. Think about it, World of Warcraft. What do they have? Like probably 50 million people, more playing it at one point.
Oh,
I don't
so
even know,
many.
right?
They did a good job
Right.
when it comes to MMO.
They do such a good job in their virtual world of WoW, moving communities and people around that BlizzCon is just a real life version of them having those skills of actually organizing people. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing too. People that work at BlizzCon was always BlizzCon and Blizzard are really passionate people,
Oh yeah.
And that's why they can able to translate that into the convention itself too.
Oh yeah. They're just as big of fans as the people that are there. There's so many people that are working at Blizzard now that are there because they loved Blizzard as a gamer. You know what I mean? They're like, it's like, what do you want to do for a living? They don't say I want to be an artist. They don't say what they want to, be a businessman or whatever. They're like, I want to work at Blizzard. What do you want to do at Blizzard? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll figure it out, right? And that's
they grew up playing the game
incredible to
it.
me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
it's also Oh, so go ahead.
Riot has taken over that on a community base. I actually have two people that's from Riot. One is the community person, one is a business person. They're gonna be on my stream
Sure.
later too, like this month or next month.
Oh, nice.
Because then I want to talk about those things, like how they do such a good job on building community. And I think
Oh, yeah.
Blizzard kind of lost a little bit of it, and Riot did a good job coming of it.
Blizzard's definitely tripped a couple of times, but I think Blizzard's also doing a really good job of getting back to where they wanted to be originally. I've seen some of the choices that they've been making in the last year now, and I feel like they're definitely more Blizzard-esque choices. There's not nearly as much of a corporate influence, if you know what I mean.
Yep. A lot of people work at Blizzard that I know personally are great people. They really love what they do. They love creating. They love, really the Blizzard ideology. The original Blizzard ideology. Yeah. So.
For sure. And I've got friends at both Blizzard and Riot, and seeing how they're doing stuff. Another game company that I actually really really like though is oh gosh, it's the guys that make Apex Legends. What is that?
Apex Legend. Are they? They don't make Destiny 2, right? Oh, Bungie?
It's not Bungie.
Because Bungie is Destiny, right? I don't.
Oh my gosh, I feel so dumb.
You should know this. Just kidding.
Respawn.
Respawn. Okay,
Respawn Entertainment. Yeah. So Respawn Entertainment, they're like Apex Legends it's like Overwatch in a battle royale, but they've done a really tremendous job at doing story and background for their characters. And so I think that there's a really strong chance that it's going to have a strong kind of like cosplay community at one point. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. And it's also growing. So I don't know. It's always interesting for me to see the upcomers.
I feel like if they can make more games that, because I feel like FPS is very specific to one type of gamers, and I feel like they don't cross paths with a lot. Like people that love FPS really love FPS, but they don't like other type of games. But there's like Blizzard has so many different games, and so will Riot. Riot already have different ones.
Right. So they have the backing to do that, though.
They do, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
so it's different.
So anytime you get a company that's grown to such a scale, it's interesting to see because they have the backing to be able to kind of go through and do new development. What else is interesting right now though is Valve. You know what I mean? With what they're doing with all of their games and whatnot. And the thing that's cool about Valve is. So for everybody that was upset about like there not being episode 3 for Half-Life 2 and all that, right? The thing about it is Valve has always made their games when there's a technology for them to really showcase how they use that new technology. And I think that's what we saw with Half-Life Alyx. And for anybody that hasn't played Half-Life Alyx, even if you don't have a VR headset, go watch like a YouTube, kind of quick view of like the game, the storyline, because the immersion, like how successful they were with immersion on that was just insane. But that's what's curious for me is technology is now reaching a point where I think we're going to start seeing a couple new games coming from Valve to showcase how they're able to use technology different than everyone else. So that's another company that I'm really interested. Man, we've sure talked about a lot of random stuff on this, haven't we? Is this what you were expecting when you asked me to be on your video interview?
To be honest, there's no expectation. I actually like it, but I always just fear that we'll talk and then we run out of topic. That's always my fear. But I'm glad that never really been the case. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. I said, we said earlier, as an extrovert, I get to talk with people and they enjoy it. So I'm glad. So far, everyone that been on the show so far, they tell me, wow,
what was your,
I didn't realize how much we talked about.
What was your longest interview so far?
I mean, the longest I have done was with Sean and Natasha. And because we just keep going on and on about everything.
That's
3D
cheating,
printing.
Though. There's 2 people.
Yeah, and there's 2 of them, exactly. So it's kind of we should divide it by half because we talk for like 2.5 hours or more.
Oh,
but
gotcha,
I feel like
gotcha.
There's 2 of them, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And
so I have a question. Do you have? Well, I have a question about questions. Did you have anything specifically you wanted us to talk about?
No. Okay. Not at all.
Do you have any questions that you want to ask me anyway?
It always depends what the person I'm talking to want to share. Because for you, we talk about so many different things, right? Of course, we both.
I feel like you and I we talk about business a lot.
I love business, but it's not everyone's topic.
Around that. I know everyone's like, oh God. Right? But it's also so important. Like
Yeah,
taxes. How was your
like
taxes this year? Did you get them done in time? I
I got it
filed
done in
mine
time.
on the 15th.
I did it right. Here's the thing: like I feel like my tax returner, my accountant was more on on points than I was. Like he keep reminding me,
That's
Marty,
good.
you need to do this, you need to do this. Like, all right, cool. What do you do? So sign here. It's like, okay, cool. And then I just end up paying for it, going to the website, pay for it,
I
Like
gotta say, man, if you were gonna do a video for creatives, you should talk about taxes. You should talk
I
about
should.
taxes. You should talk about incorporating. Talk about the benefits as well as the limitations of an LLC versus an
So
S
see.
corp. Give everybody a breakdown of a 1099 MISC and how that's
See,
taxed.
after being an individual, like, and I think I am also might be switching from an LLC to a S corp too because of what I'm doing. Because like, here's the thing:
Any
I don't get
reason
how.
why? Any reason
Oh,
why?
the reason why is because how I can pay myself.
But you can do that as an LLC.
You can, but the tax is bricked differently. I remember, if I remember correctly.
So an LLC, if it's structured properly, you can actually set it up though as if you're taxed the same way as you are as an S corp, where you
Mm-hmm.
essentially, so what you're doing is you're paying yourself as if you're an employee. And so what you
True.
do is there isn't a direct correlation with your income for the business. Instead, you have an actual salary every single week or month or whatever your
Mm-hmm.
payment scheduling is. And then what that allows you to do is actually file your taxes similar to an S corp.
But I think it's because my company also pays so many different people, so maybe that's why they
See,
want to do it.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
that
see
one
now
big
why.
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's dude. I that terrify employees terrify me. Like no lie, that is a terrifying
that's why
thing. So
what confused me is that how people are really confused about how to do the tax if they have a normal 9 to 5, like a regular 9 to 5.
sure,
It should be very easy. If anything, just go on TurboTax
it's
or
so
whatever
easy.
QuickBook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they have all the free
that
filing
one
stuff.
form,
Like
just
Tammy does
one
her own
form, you're
taxes.
done. Yeah.
I don't. I look at all that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm definitely. I was really proud of myself because in the last few years, like I wasn't nearly as good about keeping track of my expenses and my deductions and all that different stuff, right?
Hmm.
And so really for like the first time the last 2 years, I was trying to be far better about keeping track of receipts and actually, there's a website out there, Waves Apps. I don't know if you've
Mm.
ever checked it out, but they've
Mm.
got it's free to use. It's a really good, strong invoicing software, and they do offer you like payment solutions where you can have people pay you directly through their portal with a credit card
Mm.
and stuff, which is nice for some people. Although of course they take a cut, but
Yeah.
it's really good for me because they've got a couple of apps like a receipts app, so I can actually take pictures of receipts, and will actually act like it'll automatically track it, and it will OCR text recognition it and categorize it, and so I
Mm.
can actually categorize my different receipts, and that allows me to determine whether they're like a business expense, this what
Deductible.
not
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
It's just like so like I was saying though, is like the last 2 years, but especially 2019, I was so good about it, right? But then, of course, with 2020 and the tax season this year, it was such a reason
It's a
because, like,
mess.
so technically, like, like you and I are actually better off if we're gonna file for unemployment. And if you are self-employed, by the way, guys, you really should just file for unemployment because I
Oh yeah,
guarantee you, every single person has been affected by the pandemic, right?
one
But
way or
what
other.
I'm
Mhm.
getting at is, uh, so like you and I, for example, we're actually better off having the most amount of income and the least amount of deductions this year that we're
Mhm.
filing on our taxes because it means that we actually qualify for more on unemployment.
Right. Yep. Mhm.
You know what I
It's
mean? So
ironic.
it's
It's just
like I was
all
talking to my
is yeah.
tax guy and he's like, "Here's what we're going to do this year and you're not going to like me at first." He's like, "But we're not going to use most of your deductions." And I'm like, "Oh no. Why?" He's like, "This is why." And I was like, "Well, you know what? That's legitimate and you're not working the system. You're actually doing it properly." But it's just like, holy moly. And
Here,
I'm
that's
so
the thing.
glad I don't have to try and
It's
figure
a
all this out.
system itself that messes. Like it's yeah. It should be easy, but it's not because they made all these
Yeah.
rules and all this exception, and it's get
Oh, yeah. Did you
complicated.
apply for the PPP and the SBA loan?
I didn't do so. I still need to talk to my bank
You
about
still
my
can,
PPP. Yeah, I know they extend to
but
August something.
not if you file for unemployment.
Mm,
So if you get
okay.
the PPP loan, the payment protection plan, it offers X amount of money, but 10 weeks After the PPP for that first 10 weeks, you can't apply for unemployment if you're the
Mm.
business owner.
So yeah,
Yeah,
again, I need to look into it. There's so many different things. I'm like, which is the best strategy?
sure,
Because they're
sure.
all different ways. And yeah, I think they approved me for something. But then again, I need to look into it. It's like, is it forgiven or is it just a low interest loan? Because low
Oh
interest, I
yeah.
don't really need it. It's just like, why am I
You
borrowing
know
money
what though? So for low interest loans though, it's like having the liquid assets available. So like
to do
I
CD
took out, what is it? Huh?
to
So
do like
like
an interest investment?
so like the PPP has like a 1% loan, but it's probably going
Correct.
to be completely forgiven, right?
I
And
don't
then
know.
the
I need to look
SBA
into it.
one,
hmm
yes, yeah, PPP is 1%.
Yep, that's that
1%,
part I
and it's
know.
probably gonna be forgiven, right? But
Yeah,
the
probably. That's
SBA, it's like I think it's like a 3.7 or something percent interest, but it's a 30-year fixed interest, and there's no penalties for an early payback. So it's
oh.
like you can apply for it, get it. It's like, you know, cheap, tiny,
hmm
tiny payback plan, right? And it's like having the liquid assets available means that you actually are in a position to be able to try and grow your business during the interim when you're not necessarily
hmm
making, the income you want. And that's something that I think a lot of people are going to struggle with. Is I think that things right now are far more stable than they're going to be. I
And
think
here's the
things
thing:
are actually going to get far, far worse in the next, like, let's say 6 months,
me
and
and you
our
are willing
economy
to
won't
take
recover
risk.
for 20 years.
That's the difference. Me
Yeah,
and
but is
you
it
are willing to
really
take risk.
risky?
A lot of people don't know how to take risk and how to utilize that.
Sure, sure, but I'm not gonna take that money and go buy a drone,
No, no,
right?
no.
Or go buy, like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna take the money and actually, like, develop the business,
But
and
but that's what I'm
that's
saying. Yeah, exactly. Like if I can,
maybe you and I need to do a podcast on business for creatives. There you go.
right?
I'm probably
Because like
pretty
I would say, if I know for sure there are certain clients that I could get if I have certain either technology or stuff or
oh,
equipment that
yeah.
I don't have, definitely instantly take the money, buy it, make that money back. You already make the money back
Oh,
instantly.
yeah.
Then why not? Some people don't even take that low risk, high reward situation, and that is something that's frustrate me when they don't do it. I'm like, oh, you have this thing. I will do it if I could, but I'm not you. So,
I think I think there's a reasonable risk. I think there's a reasonable level where it's like, you will never be successful if you take no risks. But there
hmm
are certain things that are far, 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 far more risky, and there's not nearly as much of a return on that investment. And
Yep.
so that's really what it is. It's navigating the potential return on that investment and ensuring that the risk is worth it, because there is always a chance that it will, no pun
Yep.
intended, blow up in your face though. You know, maybe a slight pun intended there. Sorry.
Do people
But
ever say
yeah,
anything that you feel like you can tell that they might fear that it offends you?
Uh, what's funny is I think I get offended far less than other people when people are being dumb about, like, the eye patch. But there's been a couple of people where I was just completely just like, there's no way. There's no way. They did not say that when they did.
Uh-huh.
I got off of, I think the one that comes to mind the most is just absolutely ridiculous. I was at Disneyland, right? And I
Insolent.
got off of the Haunted Mansion ride, and the Disney employee looked at me and said, I think it was like, "Yar, don't you think you be on the wrong ride?" And I was like, "Oh my god, she said that." It's like, that's not okay. So keep in mind, Sammy was a cast member, so I
The
know
rules.
from her telling me, right, how absolutely a big of a no-no that was. I could have gone to guest services, and that chick probably would have gotten fired, because that was completely unacceptable. The thing that
Uh-huh.
scares me with, like, stuff like my disability,
hmm
most people that say something stupid like that or comment, or the thing I get more often than not is people like, "Oh, you be a pirate," or "Yar," right? That kind of
Uh-huh.
shit. Jokes on them. I actually like pirates, right? But at the same time, I can imagine if there was, like, somebody that was in the military, or in some branch of the military, right?
Uh-huh.
Where they've got, like, trauma, like severe trauma, PTSD. They're very self-conscious about it, whatever. I'm not. I'm kind of like, for me, there's there's only an acceptance for it. It's an
Mm.
acceptance, and it's like, this is who I am, so if people are curious about it, I will share that, as long as they're being respectful, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the big deciding factor for me. I don't like when people are being super disrespectful.
Mm.
Um,
Naturally so.
but Right, right. But the problem is a lot of people don't realize they're doing it, you know?
Mm.
But when somebody is very, very self-conscious about something, and then you have some idiot who thinks it's okay to do that stuff,
Mhm.
that's the thing. Because I guess the thing is that's my inner, like, fight against bullies. I kinda look at those people that are doing that as, like, they're picking on somebody. They're attacking
Mm.
somebody. They're attacking somebody for something about them that is different than them, and that is, first and foremost, the worst thing in the world to me. Is like, it's
Mm.
okay for you to be different than others, and it's okay for others to be different than you. You should never attack them about that, because the moment you do that, what you're trying to do is make them feel worse so you feel
Lower.
better.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
that to me is the biggest red flag of you being a piece of shit human, is when you're trying to
Mm.
make others feel worse so you feel better. Because those
Mhm.
people can go fuck off. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Do you get lots of cosplay suggestion then for
Um,
character that
every single cosplay where it's got one eye or wears an eye patch, yes. Yes.
that come up
But
really, really
I
often
mean,
then?
that's think about it, that's, if you look at it, some of the costumes I've done, they've been those characters. So, like, doing Josh Brolin's Cable, for example, from Deadpool 2,
Mm.
where it's just like, I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Okay, I have to do that." Because I do actually resemble Josh Brolin a little bit. I've got
Mhm.
more of an actual, like, strong jaw,
Rockety.
and then,
Mhm.
the biggest difficulty with that costume, ironically enough, was the hair, because 'cause I'm bald, right? And
Uh-huh.
so, like, Sammy straight up handmade and did a whole ventilated wig, and the thing that was so fun about it, though, is it was the hairpiece was glued to my head, but for the styling of it, we went to my friend's mom, who's, like, this really good stylist, and
Mhm.
for the first time I lost my hair when I was, like, 21 maybe, right?
Mhm,
So for the
mhm.
first time in, like, 12 years, I got a haircut. We glued it to my head, we went to her, and she actually cut my hair, and it
That's
was
nice.
it was an interesting process. I will say it was far more itchy than, like, I remember normal hair being, but with hair super.
Yeah.
But
Like trying
that was a really interesting process. I wish we would have documented it better,
you
because
should have.
it
That would be such an, like, interesting
I
it would be
know.
such a cool
I
video.
I'll never ask Sammy to ventilate a wig like that again, you know what I mean? Because it was, we're talking just probably 100 hours of her sitting there just and so the thing about it is oftentimes, like, we'll work together on stuff. She helps sand props all the time, and then,
Mhm.
like, I try to help her with sewing, but I suck at it, so she's the black magician in the family with that one, right? But I still try to help her when I can, so I cook food and stuff for her, right, when she's sewing. But the thing about it is ventilating wigs. So if I had to say there's one thing that I will absolutely never, ever, ever be good at unless I get, like, a robot eye, it's ventilating
Mhm.
wigs, because I literally cannot see, plus the depth perception, I'm just like, "Oh, I'm nope." But yeah, so
It's
that
so
is
much
my
repetitive
kryptonite, is
small work, you know?
I can't do
Yeah.
it. I literally can't see it. It's the only, if there was one thing I had to say that I know I will not be able to do when it relates to costuming, is that.
It's annoying.
Everything
It's
else I
okay.
feel like I could eventually figure out and learn. That, no, no,
Maybe it's
not
time for
gonna
you to
happen.
make a machine
Unless
that
I
does
can
that
do it
for you.
by touching, right? Like just like muscle memory. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that.
Nah, it's not fun, don't worry. You're not missing out on anything. Alrighty. Well, this has been
Huh.
fun. This has been great. This has been a long
Yeah.
chat too. I actually enjoy every moment of it. We
How
covered
long
so many topics.
is
We have
this?
been streaming for like 2 hours.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's been
Pretty
nice.
good,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
Well, how can people
Alrighty.
find you?
Oh,
Of
so
course.
if you guys want to find me, please, social media is @Hoku Props on everything: Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Although I mean,
You don't use your
Facebook.
Twitter enough. You need to use your Twitter more.
I don't understand Twitter. Like, Twitter to
There's
me is the
nothing to
Wild
understand.
West. And the problem is, like, I don't want to go on there and upset people. And I think that's what Twitter's meant for.
But you're a prop maker, so all you have to do is that every time something cool comes to your mind, just post it. You don't have to think about it. Like maybe every
Just be
time
like, OMG, look at this cool thing, right?
literally, you can even shit on the toilet, and you're literally doing shit posting. You're just like, oh, this is cool. Oh, that's what I'm thinking about.
Wait,
Like, ah,
you want me to post on Twitter just when I'm shitting on the toilet?
that could be a thing. Like literally, that's a shit posting. Like that is what people do on Twitter,
A
and
shit
it's
posting.
widely
Okay.
acceptable.
I will make sure that the next time I'm on the toilet, I will shit post and tag you.
And I was like, huh, that's why, because
I'll just be
Martin
like,
wanted me
man,
to.
shit posting here. That was a fun interview with Martin Wong. I miss his loud pants.
I see. I don't even get to wear loud pants now because I don't have to go to cons.
Okay, so here's the question: are you wearing loud pants right now?
No, because I'm not at a con. It's a part of my outfit.
Are you wearing pants right now?
Yes. I have to check. Like,
see,
yes.
see, you're still doing more than me because I'm just wearing shorts. You got more dressed up for this than
right? But yeah, also I'm gonna talk to you about it some other time too.
Find me. Also, I do stream on Twitch, guys. I do a lot of streaming on Twitch. So if you guys are interested in how I make costumes, please check me out there. We're also on YouTube. We do YouTube videos and instructions. We're working on a series for airbrushing right now. I feel like airbrushing is something very much missing from the cosplay community. There's plenty of people that use it, but there needs to be more. And so if you guys want to kind of like, thank you. If you guys want to learn about airbrushing, go there. We also do. Sammy and I did a video series. We only did one episode so far, but it's called Behind the Ears, and it's actually like we strap I have a DJI Action Osmo, and we have it mounted to several of our corgis' harness, and so it's perfectly positioned right behind his ears, so you get to see exactly what he's looking at, and it's such a unique kind of experience for me, even. So like I take him for the walk and we're recording this, but then when we're editing the video, we're like, that is what he was so interested by, because we'll be walking and he'll just stop. We're like, what the hell do you want now? Like, what smells so interesting there? We have no idea. But through that kind of view, it's such a different insight into the world. So yeah,
perspective
Behind the Ears, check it out.
I will. I definitely will. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, stay online with me, and then I'm gonna end the stream. We can talk a bit more on our little offline stream. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thanks for joining us. We'll be here again on Thursday, and not next week. Next week I'm taking a break because I have to do a photo shoot safely. But the week after I'm doing again with Modern Wong Chat. So thanks for dropping by, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.